Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
Welcome to the Pool Chasers Podcast. This is episode 10. In this episode, we interview Trevor Tipton from Artisan Elements. We had so much fun on this interview. You know, Trevor has a great background in the sales industry. He actually worked for Tom Hopkins, one of the top salespeople in the country. He just has a great perspective on how to communicate with your customers and how to present a product in a way which entices them and, you know, has their best interest in mind. So there's a lot of cool sales tips and tricks here on how to sell to your customers. He was also a partner with Dave Brandenburg. Dave is a well-known builder here in the Phoenix metro area. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, he passed away, but his legacy still lives on through Trevor, and we were very impressed with the amount of respect that Trevor has for him. We've seen some of the Brandenburg experiences around the valley, and we can tell you they are top-notch. So Trevor continues that legacy in his new business, Artisan Elements, and he brings those same values that Dave taught him, you know, how to build a pool correctly, how to let the concrete cure the right amount of time before you move forward with the build, and just a lot of the great values and standards that we should be setting. So he is definitely doing things the right way, and, you know, we've come to have much more respect for Dave Brandenburg as the time's gone by that we've been in this industry. He's just a great guy, and, you know, he's definitely missed in this industry. You know, Trevor talks about the true backyard experience, and I think that's what's so impressive with Artisan Elements and what they're putting on. So, you know, this interview with Trevor has a lot of value in it. I know Greg and I definitely got so much from this interview, and we think you guys will as well. So let's jump right into it.
Thank you so much for being here today, Trevor. I know you're a super busy guy, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. It's sorry I had to move on you that one time with, unfortunately, had a friend pass away and had to go back east. But I'm excited about it, you know, kind of like we were talking a little bit before of, I'm glad there's something for our industry, man. Like I'm super pumped about it. I think there's lots to learn, and I love listening to guys that know more than me and all the different stuff. Like, it's great. Like, I want to learn every day, and so I'm really excited about it.
Well, thank you so much, and we're really sorry about your friend. I know when you emailed us that, we were just, pretty upset for you that you had to deal with that. That's never easy to lose somebody.
No, and the good part is with that is we got to go see him, before he passed. So, like, when we found out, we got out there, and I knew it was coming, right? It's always sad, you know. It's hard to lose close ones.
Yeah. Was he in the pool industry?
No, he wasn't. Just a longtime friend, and he was actually a pastor, and it's unfortunate. You know, it's 3 young kids, and
that's
young,
rough.
and cancer is can get you. So it's just part of life, and you got to deal with it. And we're just trying to be there to support his family now and help him out.
Yeah, sure. So talk a little bit about how we first found you. So we were asking people on our Instagram story a while back who their favorite builders were, just to kind of get a feel for what builders we would like to have on the podcast. And one of our friends, his name's Kane from Premier Pool Care, he actually tagged you guys and said, these, Artisan Elements is, my favorite. And we looked you guys up on Instagram, and we just saw that your story game was so strong. The logo was really cool. All the different types of photos that you guys were posting were really awesome. And I just saw, one thing I look at is I see the following, and then I see the engagement mixed in with the likes. And I was like, wow, there was a ton of engagement. I mean, even from your followers, and even you were engaging with them, which I thought was really cool, because you see that a lot where people are just they post stuff and there's people commenting, wow, really cool pool, or yada yada yada, and you actually went in and said thank you so much, and you go on. So I thought that was really cool, and that really stood out.
Thanks. Yeah, I want to give people exposure to what we're doing and how it's different, and I want to show them the nuts and bolts and the behind the scenes of what's actually going on and what sets us apart. One of the unique things about us is we're actually a full service design, build, pool, and landscape contractor. So we're licensed to build anything outside. We carry the pool license. We actually carry a landscape license. We carry an engineering license. So we can actually build ramadas and pergolas and then do grass. And I actually got my start on the landscape side. So I learned that before I learned pools. And Instagram's been great. I love it. I love the interaction. I love people being able to ask us questions and talk to us and really understand that, hey, like, this is why I'm installing this way, and this is how we're doing it, and letting them see, the stuff I always thought I shouldn't show, right? We wanted to like secret it up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's funny, man. I just give it out now and, let them see, hey, this is really how I'm going to do it. And, show that, hey, we're not trying to just have 5 designs and, you could pick one of them and put that in the ground. Right.
That's really cool. And I know we're going to jump more into the marketing and social media stuff later on in the episode. Let's go back a little bit. Okay. And as usual, we like to talk about, how, each person that's been on our show, we like to talk about how they grew up and what their childhood looked like. So you want to tell us a little bit about, where you were raised, how you were brought up, let's just go down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah. So I have a weird story because I moved a lot. So I was actually born at Maryville Hospital. So I was born in Glendale, and I lived here until I was 6. And I remember bits and pieces of it now. As you get older, it tends to fade. But lived here until I was 6. We actually had a farm over at like 51st and Cactus where the canal is. Okay. And back then, the canal was half as wide as it was. And they came in and eminent domain and said, hey, we want to buy that land from you. And they took it from us. So my dad's from LA and decided to go back to LA. So I grew up in Los Angeles in a place called Culver City, right in the heart of LA, Santa Monica, Marina Del Rey, and fell in love with surfing and WWF. Like I was like a crazy wrestler kid. Like nice. I loved Hulk. I had bleached blonde hair. I was probably him like 4 times for Halloween. Like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, I loved wrestling.
That was your favorite ice cream on the ice cream truck too. I remember 100%. The Hulk ice cream.
Hulk Hogan ones?
Yeah, ice cream truck.
those were the best, man. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was, I grew up out there. And it was crazy. So it was, going from Phoenix to there, the weather's so nice. And I love the beach. I fell in love with the beach. And then I was a sports kid. So I grew up sports. I played football, wrestled, baseball just year round. Like that was my thing. Like I just loved it because I was so competitive. I was the kid that when I lost, I got like Nintendo, right? Like I was a kid that threw the controller when I lost. Like I hate losing to this day, but like I'd throw it because I'm so mad because I just don't like losing. So it's translated well as I've gotten older and learned how to control it, like into work and sports and, how we can make that, be good and not like be a poor sport and a bad thing. So yeah, it was really unique experience. And then after that, moved around a bunch in LA, and then we ended up back out here. I actually had to come live with my grandparents. Had some stuff happen. And so my grandfather was a drill instructor in the Marines for 21 years. So you can imagine what a drill instructor in the Marines was like. And he was great for me. I know everybody can't see this at home, but, he taught me that, right? And shake your hand, and when you say something, you're going to do it. Like he really showed me that you got to be a man of your word. He's who had like just an amazing impact on my childhood. Because when I came back out here, I was 16 and finishing up high school, and it was just really good for me to be around him and see that discipline. And even if it cost him something, he would do it. Like if he gave you your word, he said he was going to do it. And then it's actually how I really started getting into construction is my grandfather did layouts. And it was crazy. He could walk a layout, be within 2 inches, like without even putting a tape on it. He'd just done it for so long.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool. So a lot of concrete and stuff, and started learning concrete and finishing concrete. And I grew up really mechanically. My dad was a mechanic, built race cars at one point. And so I grew up in the garage and, I learned how to weld when I was 5. I learned how to ride a motorcycle before I learned how to ride a bike. So like I was 3.5 because I'm so tall. I was riding a Honda 50, old school, right? No suspension, right? But I was 3.5 and I could run it, and that's just what we did. So I was, that was living on the farm. We just rode every day. But it was really cool being around him, and he just really, really changed my life. He was just a good man. Like he loved his family. He worked really hard, and he appreciated the little things. And I'm the oldest grandchild. So him and I just had a really, really good relationship. Like he always looked out for me. And, you get older and you look back and all of a sudden you go, wow, like I didn't realize he was doing that there, but he was like really taking care of me. So that I would say like is probably who had the biggest impact for me, like growing up, and really as that outside influence on you to make sure you're going down the right road.
Nice. So having that new discipline in your life, was it difficult to adjust to that?
It was different. Like, you're a kid, you don't make your bed every day. You make your bed in that man's house. Like, he's a Marine, right? Let alone a drill instructor. Like, you make your bed. Like, that's just, but it was the discipline of doing that every day and having that routine. And I already liked working hard. Like, I've just never been the lazy kid unless I didn't like it. Like, I was only lazy if, like, I hated it, right? If I didn't want to do it. Like, school was boring to me. I always hated school. I just never liked it because it's like, why am I, it was funny. I remember being like 7, 8 years old going, why am I memorizing stuff that I don't really need to know? Mm-hmm. And little did my teachers know, I would have a calculator in my pocket everywhere I went.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You'll never use calculators in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, we will.
So, but, and then if I loved a class, I could be really into it. Like my mom had a thing though, like I had to have a 3.0 or better grade point average because she was like, you're smart enough. So if I wanted to play sports, that's how she did it. And she tested me one time. I never liked school. And, I wasn't doing my homework, wasn't doing my grades. I was just playing sports all day, and it dropped down. And she sat me down, like she just, nope, you're down, you're not going, and that's
crazy,
right? But she showed me she was, if she said something, she was going to do it, and it just taught me a lesson. Like, okay, so I always carried decent grades, but it wasn't like I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't love it.
I think that's a borderline thing with parents too, because I never understood a 2.0. Because to get a 2.0, I really think is. Not very difficult. Right. You just, take your test and whatever, and you get C's straight across. To me, but I understand other people have a harder time at school. Yeah. But that 2.0 borderline for sports, I was like, well, man, if you can't make that, then you're not even trying. But, I think parents definitely push that. And
I think it's difficult for some people. School is really hard for me because school wasn't the only thing that I had to deal with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had to deal with, shitty situations with parents, or you're just a teenager and you're dealing with stuff with girls or whatever the heck is going on in your life. So all those different things going on really make it hard to focus on what's important, which is school. And if I could go back in time, I would have done a lot of things differently when it comes to school. But sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for other people.
But it's crazy the stories you hear about athletes, like parents, they just don't care and they push them. They come in there and like beg the teachers to get past them, and it's like, man, like if you just teach a kid like a little bit of attention in the homework side, like all you got to do is like a couple pieces of homework and you get a 2.0. They just don't even try, and the parents don't care. Sometimes it's you're an athlete and
Booby Miles.
Yeah, Booby Miles.
My high school quarterback could barely read. That was one of those things. He was all world athlete, and he went, Oregon full ride and just had all the talent in the world. Barely read. Like he was, as a sophomore, he was a senior. He was in my classes, and they just kept passing him. So I got to see a little bit of that. It was just crazy to me. I was like,
oh, this is real.
Yeah. Like I will say, as much as I use it now, if I go back, I would really, really pay way more attention to geometry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I bet. Yeah, that's the one class that like is cool in math, and then you don't think you're going to use it a whole lot, but for what you do, for sure.
All I do is use geometry. I use it all day, every day. Like,
I went to Magic Mountain, I think, for my geometry class. Like, it was like a fun math class, but you didn't have to pay attention. It just kind of, I don't know, I kind of glazed through it. Some people struggled, but it was easier to me. But yeah, for you, for the building and designing, it's all geometry.
little did I know I'd end up here. If you would have told me I would end up building pools and landscaping when I was 16 or 18, even with all the construction stuff I was doing, I just would never picture going that way, because I ended up in the corporate world before I did this. So it's just so different. But you got to find out what you're passionate about. And I was a kid that I was always hustling. Like I always had a side job. I was always willing to work, like because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So I was just always working, like delivering papers, mowing lawns. One of my dad's buddies like bought cars at the auction, and so I would detail them and like make money that way. Anything I could do to like hustle and like make money, flip, the baseball card thing hit. And one of my best friend's dad was a baseball card dealer, so I really got into that. I got good at like flipping baseball cards, and
Dude,
Nice.
that's where it's at. I had so much fun collecting cards when I was younger.
So much fun.
Oh, dude, you have the
and-
Beckett. Yeah, look
yeah.
up how much it's worth. You know, if it was worth $100, you'd probably get like $40 for it, but it's still fun.
I mean, I had all that I had it all memorized, and like every month you're going out, you know, and then
Ken Griffey rookie cards.
oh yeah, man, we were
Ken
Oh,
Griffey.
yeah.
Those
right.
were it.
the Mark McGuire
one.
USA
And the
baseball,
USA shirt, yeah.
you know, the Billy Bean with the end of the bat, you know, like he had a shop, right? That was when the baseball card thing blew up.
Yep.
You know, was during that time, and I would just anything I could do to flip stuff. But we were trading, and I had like an untouched 87 Donruss set.
Oh, nice.
I wish I still had it, man. I wish I had that set so bad, but it was sealed wrap. But that 87 Donruss set was like that was my jewel.
Yeah.
I have the one with Griffey's rookie card wrapped, a box with it wrapped.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. I'm sure it's worth something now, but
yeah.
I don't really want to get rid of that.
It's worth more to look at it on the shelf
yeah,
for me, right?
exactly.
Like
for me too.
If you could have any baseball card in the whole entire world, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You might get lucky. Might stumble upon it and give it to you as a Christmas present.
Bo Jackson, rookie Kansas City Royals.
Oh,
Bo is the best athlete I've ever seen in my life. He was a freak.
Yeah, he was.
He was a
Bo Jackson's crazy.
He's played all three sports, right?
Right.
He's one of the professional football player and baseball.
and he played it at the same time.
Yep.
But he did it at an all-star level.
Yep.
He wasn't just trying to play. Like
He wasn't Michael Jordan.
Right. Or even Deion Sanders could play ball,
yeah,
but he was
Deion
270
Sanders.
hitter. Bo Jackson was an all-star baseball player. He was the best running back in the NFL.
He played for the Raiders.
Yeah, he played for the Raiders. When he got hurt, what actually caused his hip to go out is he was getting tackled, and the problem was he was so strong, he was actually it ripped his hip out because had so much strength in him. The guy was just amazing to watch, just amazing. So I was just a huge Bo Jackson fan, and everybody had the Bo nose, right?
Yeah,
I had that poster up on my wall, and right,
That's awesome, man.
It was just so I was just such a big Bo Jackson fan.
Yeah, there's a really cool Bo Jackson documentary I watched a few months ago, and it was really cool going through all that stuff. And he was just an athlete, so gifted with so many different things. Yeah, it was awesome. Is there anything specific during your childhood that you think, besides the stuff going on with your grandfather, that really kind of made you who you were?
Yeah, so I had a couple things. I would say growing up playing baseball the way I did, our little league families were so tight. Like I look back now and I just had some parents that while they weren't my parents were just awesome to me. And they could look back and see some of the stuff I had going on. I really went through some crazy, crazy stuff as a kid. My dad, unfortunately, really had an alcohol problem. So we went through a lot of stuff with that. And it just made me realize I didn't want to be that guy, right? Like I didn't understand maybe which direction I want to go. And I think other people looked out and saw it and were like, wow, that really, they saw me trying so hard. Like they wanted to do that. So that, and then the big one was I actually got to go to Japan as an exchange student in high school. I went over a summer between my sophomore and junior year. So I was a kid that I did 3 sports. I did student body. I was anything just to get out of the house I would do. And so I was part of what's called the Interact Club, which is part of Rotary.
That's crazy.
Right.
I did Interact for a while in high school. Yeah,
okay.
I know
so,
what it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I did Interact. And one of our sister cities to Culver City is Kaizuka, Japan, which is outside of Osaka. Mm-hmm. And I was the first kid ever selected to go that wasn't related to somebody in the Rotary Club, like the first one. And to this day, one of the only ones, because it's generally one of the, you're in the Rotary Club, it's one of the parents' kids, it's a big trip. And I had to write a 500-word essay on why I wanted to go. I actually had to do a 3-hour oral interview in front of the members of the board of that Rotary Club. And it was so awesome to take a dumb young American kid and put him in another country and let him see somebody so culturally different. It just totally changed my life. The way their families are there, because their grandparents, parents, kids generally all live together, in the same house. That's just how they live. Mm-hmm. And all the families do it. And you just don't do anything to shame your family. And the people were great to me. And then, to go over, and I got to go up Mount Fuji, and I got to go to Kobe and Kyoto, and I learned Japanese when I went over. It was
so jealous.
Oh, so awesome.
So jealous right now.
It's funny. My wife and I have been talking. I want to do a trip back, now that I'm older and I can appreciate it a little more. And I actually have one of the families I still keep in contact with to this day. So I stayed with 5 families while I was over there. I was over there for a summer. So, a few weeks here, a few weeks there. And it was just an amazing experience. Things that are funny is when I get there and I get off the airplane, nobody told me about this, but I get through customs, and I actually think they thought I was like a drug dealer because I was in customs for like an hour and a half. They literally searched every inch of everything I had. Like I look back now and I'm like, they must have thought like they were using me to like smuggle stuff in, right? Because there's no reason I should have been in customs that long.
Yeah.
But I finally get through and I got to go to the restroom so bad. And I find the restroom and I walk in and I open this stall. I'm like, what's that? And I close the door. I open the next stall. What's that? Close the door. They didn't have Western style, our normal style toilets in there. A very different style. They're flat, low to the ground, and you just pop squat. Like, that's what you do. And it's a little porcelain thing built into the ground. It's probably 8 inches wide by like 20 inches long. And nobody told me this could happen. So this is like a traumatic experience for me. I've been up like 24 hours, right? Like, because I had to fly and I haven't slept and I'm just like, I'm delirious. And I'm like this traumatic experience of like trying to find the restroom, right? So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'm in Japan. So then I go out and, meet, and there's 100 people waiting for us in the airport. We have this giant party, all the families and their friends, and like they make this huge deal. And I wake up in the morning and I'm at the first family's house and I'm just, my clock's all jacked and I don't have to remember where I am. And I get up to go use a restroom and I go to start to walk down the hallway. And the door, and I was probably about 6'2" by then. The doorway was so short, I actually crushed myself across my forehead and almost knocked myself out cold, like I fell down. Because, right, think about it. You get up in the morning, you start walking, you don't think, hey, I got to duck my forehead.
Right.
Yeah,
right. And I'm just trying to find the restroom and I'm walking down this hallway and wham. So that was like my first 8 hours in Japan.
That is crazy.
But it was an amazing experience. But I walked with my head ducked in the houses the rest of the time.
I'm sure.
And that's crazy. They're super into baseball over there too. Like crazy into baseball.
Yep. So that was what was huge for me. So this is the craziest part of baseball there for me. So we get over there and I love it. I've been to literally hundreds and hundreds of professional baseball games in my life. Hundreds now. And I've never caught a foul ball once. The one game in Japan I went to, I caught a foul ball.
Wow.
And here's the deal, though. In Japan, they give the balls back, right? It's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, they actually give the balls back to them.
They're expensive.
And they came over and they looked at me, and I literally told them, I'm like, out of my cold, dead hand, they're getting this baseball back. Right? And it was, I shouldn't have done. I should have given back, right? But I'm 16 years old. And I'm like, there's just no way. Like, there's no way you get this baseball out of my hand. And the family I was with, I think the guy, I can look back and I think the guy probably told him, like, hey, like, look at the American kid. He's not giving you the ball. Like,
right.
And I'm bigger than I'm taller than everybody, right?
They're like, I'm not messing with this guy.
I actually have a picture of me at the train station where they're like up above in Kyoto and there's a sea of people and like my head, I'm not joking, it's like my head, sea of people and then my head and then back to like a sea of people. It's crazy.
That's crazy. I remember my grandfather was telling me when he was in Japan, when he was in the army way back in the day, he was saying that when you go through the people's houses there, they're very friendly and the door was always open. But like each home at this time had like a picture of Babe Ruth, like inside their house. Like how crazy is that? You wouldn't even think in Japan that be a picture of their family or something, or you don't even realize that they would know who Babe Ruth is, but it was just like a shrine. It's like, dude, Babe Ruth is the ultimate,
And they love baseball. Like when you go to the game, you are yelling, screaming, and cheering the entire time. You have like everybody has like sticks they're beating together and like tambourines and sounds and whistles. Like it is totally different than an American baseball game. They are fully engaged and it is intense. Like that's why I want to go back to. Like I want to go back and like as an adult now because I'd appreciate it so much more. And look back like that was one thing. As cool as it was, I couldn't appreciate it at the time. And now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, that was a life changing experience.
Most definitely.
I remember when, like Hideo Nomo was like huge in California where we were growing up.
Oh, yeah, that wind up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was like one of the first Japanese like big players.
I made so much money on his baseball cards.
I'm sure.
I crushed it. I just knew he wouldn't last. And man, I got a bunch. I mean, I probably made $500 flipping his baseball cards.
Yeah.
Which right back then, 20 years ago. I mean, that's more than 25 years ago.
That must have been perfect timing because I don't think he lasted very long.
Nope, we were just taking them, and they got real hot. They were super expensive, and because he was the guy.
So after all this, you go to college. What college you go to?
So I went to Iowa, go Hawkeyes, and from there it was I really wanted to get into like corporate America, right? So do the college thing and all that. I get out. I just want to work. Like I graduated like 2 weeks before I turned 21. And so I got to go to work. I had no business getting this job. I went to work for Tom Hopkins as my first real job out of college. And they taught me like how to sell and that
Sales guru.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. He was like the first real big sales trainer. Mm-hmm. And I got to go to work for him. They were actually based here in Scottsdale. I was living in LA, but they're based here in Scottsdale. Tom's from here. And they just taught me so much that college didn't teach me, right? You can learn all you want in books, but these were like, for the corporate world, these guys were cold-blooded sales guys, like boiler room style, right? They just knew how to close. They had it all down. And I went to work for them for a couple of years, and I just learned. I was on the road all the time and learned. And so I started working my way up, and I ended up with a distribution company, really, really big company, 17 warehouses in North America, millions and millions of square feet, and made all the stuff. So manufacture and distribute, and made all the stuff you buy that you don't think about. LED light bulbs, extension cords, water hoses, right? When you go into like Ace, you're not like, I don't really care what hose I get. Just give me the hose, right?
Right.
But somebody's making them. I mean, that's stuff we were doing. So we had like 12,000 SKUs, and I rose through the ranks. I started working my way up. And I ended up a divisional VP of sales. So I was managing their entire West Coast sales force.
Wow.
So essentially take the Texas-Arkansas border and go straight up into, through Montana and all that, and North, South Dakota, everything west. So I had everything from there. I had lots of salespeople. I was making tons of money, and I hated it. Like, I just hated it. I was so miserable.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like 30 years old. I have more money than I know what to do with. And I'm just so unhappy, like super duper, like unhappy.
Depressed. Was that the real like gone? I mean, you get that high from making big sales and making the money, but once it becomes a little bit easier and, it just kind of fades away.
I knew it wasn't what I was supposed to do. So part of my personal mission statement in life is I want to make a positive, impactful difference in at least one human's life every day. Like, that's part of why I'm here on earth is I want to do that. And I wasn't doing that there. I just was so unhappy. It was like, it's funny. My wife's seen it like when she saw and how unhappy I was. And like, she'll talk about like just how miserable it was. And then I was on the road 40 weeks a year. Like I was the guy, like I was literally like that movie Up in the Air. Like I was just always in there. Right. I was diamond status at 3 corporate, hotel chains, right? Diamond, with airlines. And it was terrible. I just wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled inside. And I started really thinking about like, well, what do I really want to do? And the opportunity out here, because I'm still in California, the opportunity to come out here and partner in with a landscaping company came up. I'm like, I don't know anything about plants and trees and decks and hardscapes and design, and because I can't hand draw. When it comes to hand drawing, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And this is mid 2000s, and they're like, no, economy's doing right. Mid 2000s, economy was just booming, right? And they're like, hey, come out. We really need help on how to run the business, and we can teach you how to build stuff, right? We need help on actually running the business. And after months of like really, really thinking about it, I said, okay, let's do it. And we made the jump in, and I found out I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Because it took like, my love for design and building things. Like I love welding. I'm just super into welding. I've always loved it. I learned how to weld when I was like 5 or 6 because we were out in the shop and, really learning that stuff.
So what made you, you said you didn't really like school much. I mean, what made you go through the whole college? Is that just because that's what you did?
That's what you
back
did.
in the day, and then
Right.
you just chose to do the corporate world? Because the corporate world, I mean, definitely have to do school and learn all that. I mean, that's something you have to go through school a lot to get to. You don't just join the corporate world.
You got to have the paper, right?
Yeah.
You got to have the paper on the wall, and you got to play the game. And for me, growing up, like, I'm 41 now. Like, the education was the way out, right? Education was how you changed your life. It's right. And think about how radically different it is now.
Yeah.
Like, it's, everything we need to know is in the palm of our hand. Like, information's a commodity now. Whereas before, information made you powerful, right? It was just such a different experience when I grew up. But that was, you went to school, you got a corporate job. Like, my mom to this day would love if I went back to, like, corporate America. Like, because that's where she comes from. It's awesome. She's actually getting ready to retire from a tech company. When she started Bomb, she's a vice president for them now. She's retires in 5 months. She's, like, super excited. And but it's been really cool to see her, progress and work her way up. But that's just, that's the generation she came from, right? And
what made you choose Iowa? I mean, you said looking for a way out. You just wanted to kind of change, like...
Yeah, so it was sports, right?
Sports.
So went and did sports,
Okay.
and went and did that out there, and it was a great experience. And part of it was really hard to get to Iowa at the time, and I wanted to get away from some things I was going through back home, and it was just a really good, like, hey, I'm in the middle of nowhere. By the way, it is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it is so cold. I'm a West Coast kid. Like, I don't do snow.
Yeah,
I thought I
no.
was going to die the first one. I literally honestly thought I was going to die.
Is it in Des Moines?
No, Iowa City.
No, dude, it's
Iowa
like,
City.
there's nothing there.
It
man.
is flat. Like, this is and this, bear in mind, this is 20-something years ago now. I'm 21, so 22 years ago, really 23 years ago. And I mean, you weren't flying. You had to fly into Des Moines or, Chicago or something and drive down. And it was just.
Because Iowa has, I mean, zero sports, zero anything except for the Hawkeyes.
Right.
Like,
Well,
that
they're
is
huge in
the
wrestling.
team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had some buddies on the wrestling team.
Yeah.
I actually, it was cool to see them. And I mean, their workouts were, that was Dan Gable and those guys. They were Gable had just retired. And, but I mean, they're like, those guys weren't, the shape those guys were just obnoxious. Like, it was, they could just run circles around everybody. But it was so cold when I got there. And, I just remember that when winter hit, I was like, I owned a jacket, not a coat.
Yeah.
And I had to figure out real quick, like, what the difference was.
Yep.
So yeah, but it was just, you went and did education, right? And then, but it was funny. I always was like the sales guy. Like, I was always selling something as a kid. I was always flipping stuff. Everybody always said it, like, you're going to be in sales. And it is the cliche opposite, because I'm, pretty outgoing, super chatty, but that's not what makes you good. You got to listen, right? You actually got to sit down and listen to people. And I learned that going to work for Tom Hopkins and those guys right out of the gate. And that was really like, I mean, it changed my career, because I shouldn't have had that job at my age, but I hit it off with those guys, and they really liked me, and they wanted to train me. Like, they liked that I didn't have a bunch of bad habits yet, and learned a bunch of stuff. And
Yeah, I think that's where I've heard you talk about it before, where you learned empathy instead of being pushy. And I think that's what you probably hated about corporate world, is it's very pushy and you don't really care about people's feelings about that sale. It's just about that next sale. What you do now is kind of more people, right? Dealing with people and figuring out how to make that sale, but doing it empathetically and figuring out what they actually want and listening and teaching them and showing them and, giving them something that they really want, and not just for you to make a quick buck.
yeah, that was, all with the corporate world, was just every quarter, right? We're just trying to make the next quarterly report.
Yep.
Right. We're a big publicly traded company, and, the stockholders want to, CEOs driving stuff to, hey, we're looking at that quarterly report, and let's just get it done. And as much as the relationships were involved, in the industry I was coming from, it was all price based, and I hated that side of it.
Yep.
It was, hey, this guy's manufacturing the same hose for 2 cents less a hose, and if you're buying tractor trailer loads of hoses, right, it adds up. So it was just, there was I couldn't sell and do what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And now it's funny. I hate the word sell now. Like, they use it in our industry, like, and because that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, and there's companies in our industry that are set up to do that, but we're not. that's just not how I am. Like,
I think Jeremy said that too. He likes to teach or train instead of, or educate.
Yeah.
Educate was
absolutely.
the word. He likes to educate rather than use the word sell.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It just, because I want to listen. Like, the best thing I can get told by a client is thank you for listening, like, and I love that I get to hear that all the time. Like, we'll come out and they'll be like, wow, you actually listen to what we say. Because, in our industry, a lot of guys just know how to build what they know how to build. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, they're willing to just jump in and say, okay, hey, I know I can build this. And they kind of try to force that with the client because that's what they're comfortable with. And I'm the guy that, man, when somebody says, let's try this, and I'm like, all right, let's figure it out, right?
I think that you got to figure out that balance, because I think the people that know how to build, there's definitely a market for that.
Huge market.
The problem is that they try to jump into the other world when they shouldn't be. They should just figure out, okay, well, I'm going to build these type of pools for this type of income and these type of people, and then they can still make that. But when you guys are changing the game a little bit on the other side, and those are people that really hate being sold.
Yeah, for sure, right? And listen, our product is a lot of money. It doesn't matter if you're doing a regular play pool, all the way up. I mean, people are spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars with us. It's a lot of money. And like, I genuinely care about like that. People are trusting me with hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money. I want to deliver for them. Like, that's a huge deal to me. Like, they have that much trust in me, because I don't care who you are, like, or how rich you are. That, $100,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, right. Like, when, $200,000, $20,000 is a lot of money. Right. Like, and the fact they're willing to trust us with that, like, it makes me, like, I feel special, like, that they care, that I provided enough value that they really care.
Yeah, that's got to be an amazing feeling. So going back to Tom Hopkins, is there anything that you can share with our listeners, or even just us, some things that you learned with, just kind of being with him? Because I'm sure we could get some good value. Obviously, none of us are going to go work with him. I've done some research. I mean, the dude is definitely like a sales guru, but I know you don't like the word sales, but he definitely has a different approach. And even I was checking out his blog this morning, and he definitely has like a really cool kind of different approach to a lot of different things. So is there anything that, would apply to pool service repair and builders and things like that?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I hear all the time in our industry is follow-up, right? It's just mathematical fact. And we'll use the word sale. It's after the fourth no that 90% of sales are done. You're going to hear no 4 times. I'm just finishing up a job for a client that I started talking to them over 2 years ago. Right. And then it was just, hey, they wanted to add this and they wanted to add this. And then next thing you know, right, hey, we're going to put it on hold this summer. And then we put it on hold another summer. And now we're just getting it done. Right. So it's that follow up. And I've had lots of clients tell me, man, you're like the only one that actually like sent a follow up email. I try to do little things like I send handwritten thank you cards. I just try to do little things to be different. But yeah, I think a lot of the follow-up side of it, and it's the discipline, right? Do you have the discipline to really sit down and say, hey, we're going to go there? The other one is like, and this has completely changed, how I used to prospect, right, 20 years ago and how I prospect now are just, I mean, it's the Grand Canyon different, right? Because the phone changed everything, right? It's just completely changed the game. And man, like, I look back, if I would have had access to the information I had 20 years ago the way I do with a phone now, right, with LinkedIn and Facebook and everything for the business side of it on the B2B, man, I could have killed it, like, even more. And I did well. I was 21 years old and making $100,000 a year. Like, that was a ton of money, right? I was living on the beach. Like, I was having a pretty good time. Like, I wasted an obnoxious amount of money because, like, I just, that's what you do when you're 21. You don't know any better. But yeah, really, prospecting and that. I think now going into it, like, how do we prospect now is going out and finding like-minded people that you want to work with, right? And then figuring out how to connect with them, right? Like, hey, how do we connect? How do we make that work? And communication, right? Figuring out now how to communicate with people. Like, I used to have to go, like, when I wanted to make all my calls and I was like out on the road with Tom Hopkins, I'd have to go find a hotel. I would go because I didn't want to do it from a payphone, right? Like, I had we were one of the first people. We had the first like StarTAC flip phone, and it was terrible. It barely worked, and it was expensive. Like it was awful, you know. But this is like it's like 20 years ago. This is like 98, 97, 98. And I'd go to a hotel and we had calling cards, and we'd sit down and pick up the phone, right? And I'm having to like try to get people on the phone. Like email's just getting going, right? This is 98. Like email's just getting started. Like, and it's funny, like people actually read emails back then. Like,
Yeah.
the click-through rate is obnoxious, you know, and it's funny because I love tech, but I've never had a desire to work in it. And I'm glad I didn't. And, you know, you look back, like, man, I have buddies that worked at MySpace and have worked their way up, you know, because we were that age group. I have lots of buddies in tech that are, you know, that are with Google and Facebook, and, you know, watched them do really, really well, you know, on that end of it. It's been kind of crazy. But really being able to prospect now, I'm saying, hey, this is how I want to get in front of people, taking the time to do that. You know, and I know we'll get into it a little bit more. But really using, you know, social media to really get out in front of our clients, because now we can't. Like, I love it because there's no excuses anymore, right? Like, you can't. It's only our desire to want to do it. But yeah, I love Tom. I mean, just really understanding that, and not being afraid to tell the client when you really want it. Like, if I really want the business, I'll tell them, like, I really want to build your yard. Like, I'd like to work together with you. Like, I'm not scared to say, hey, I think this would be a great relationship, and actually ask for the business. Like, I don't want it to be that, like, I don't want to feel silly, but I want them to understand that I actually care, and I'm trying to provide some value for them.
Well, it's crazy how many people don't ask for the sale, because, you know, I have more of that corporate background as well. I worked in that for 4 or 5 years, and, you know, I didn't really like, 'cause my dad is like, our dad's like crazy #1 salesman for Auto Trader for 14 years, switched over to another company, #1 salesman for Recycler is another magazine in California for another 12 years. He was making bank, and he was really good at sales. Nothing we really wanted to get into fully because we saw it, and, you know, he was awesome salesman. He taught us a lot. So I go in that world, and I'm like, I was on the phones a lot, you know, answering calls. It was inbound stuff, so it wasn't like super horrible, but, you know, they would taught me. I would go to them, and they'd be like, well, this is what you want to say. This is what you want to upsell and cross sell. And like, all you have to do is ask. And I became like on the top of their board, and I'm not even good at it. You know, you just have to ask, you know, you just say, okay, you want to order that. Do you want 3 cases of that? Why would I want 3 cases? Oh, because you get this you get this discount. Okay, give me 3. Oh, we have this other product. You want to try this? What does that do? Yeah, it just does this. You want to try that product? Yeah, give me 2. Like, that was easy. It's just easy, and nobody does it. Like, they just teach. As long as if you ask for that sale, you close so much more.
It's crazy.
So much more, and very few people understand that, and I don't know if they're scared to do it, but you just, you know, all they can say is no, right? That's the worst they can say is no.
Yep, and you can't take it personally, right?
No.
Like, some people just might not be a good fit, right? Like, we were talking a little bit before, right? How we want to make sure the client loves us and we love them. You know, we want to because we're married, you know, with us, right? Same with you guys, right? You're in your yard every week, right? You guys, you know, with your service side of of your company, you know, you're out there every week in people's homes, and, you know, you want to make sure it's the right fit. And now communication is crazy. It's funny, and we went from the call thing. I really been thinking about, like, I have so many clients that just want to text now. They don't even want to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we do like group text. Like, when we start a big project, like, we'll have a group text with the clients. And so, like, I get put in every single one, so I know what's going on. And then, you know, like, my construction manager or whoever's communicating with them, like, hey, this is coming this day, or hey, this is coming this day. Here's what's going on. And clients just love it, especially like if they're at work and stuff, right? They can get updates, and that's where, you know, they start. That's why the stories has been so huge, is because they love following along, because they know, like, hey, I'm out, like, I'm trying to get as much as I can, and I can't get to every job every day, but you know, I'm trying to really show them what's going on. They love it because at work they're like, oh, cool, like, hey, this is what
that's
progress,
cool.
right? Like, this is what's going on today, and they know, right? They know you're getting it done.
Yeah, that's super cool.
That's awesome. And just touch a little bit more on Tom Hopkins, because I'm like super interested in this. We won't, you know, talk about it too much, but, you know, it seems like watching his YouTube videos and reading everything that I've read, it seems like he has a plan for everything. I mean, even down to the way his mannerisms are, and he invites people to his home, and he strategically puts like pictures in places because they make for good talking points. In his office, he doesn't put chairs in front of his desk because he's setting everything up. So it's like people can come in and talk to him, but he wants to be able to not have them there too long. So they can't sit down. He has a big clock that he looks at so that
he did.
You know what I mean? So that he can look at it and them understand that, okay, your time started. So let's go. What do you need? You know what I mean? But that's more of the business side of it with the people you work with. But I think all those different things they're so important. And I don't think we get to talk about that enough, about being professional. I mean, you can't just say that we're just pool service and repair company. Like, you should, dress the part. You should pay attention to how you're speaking with them, be sincere, be honest, do all those different things. I mean, probably by this point you already knew all this stuff, but was he pretty like aggressive with this type of stuff?
Yeah. So that was like, it was a dictatorship when it came to that stuff. Right. This is how you're going to do it. And like, we're not deviating from that because I know that it works. Right. Thanking people for their time. Hey, our most valuable commodity, right? It's the one thing we can't get more of. And so really, understanding that is valuable. Right. So to like translate it into us today, like when I'm going in someone's home, like I'm looking around, right? I'm looking at all the stuff they have in there and, they're inviting me in the home. That's super personable. That's not just, hey, we're coming in and, just trying to talk to you. Like I appreciate that and I value that time with them. It's really, really awesome that they're willing to, let me do that. So as he went through, it's funny, he brought up the clock thing. We tease him about it all the time. Because at this point, everybody's like wearing watches and cell phones just starting to come out. And we're like, you can like, but he had that thing with that clock. He loved it, right? Because he would also look up and be like if we're talking, right? And then he'd look over like, hey, it would be like, hey, your time's getting close.
Oh, that's a huge indicator for you.
Right.
And if he looks up, you're like, oh yeah, I need to wrap this up.
And he even talks about, and it's so crazy, I never even thought about this stuff, but if somebody comes in there and stands up, he'll stand up with them. Mm-hmm. And he says that there's like a different kind of, there's a different feeling in there, and it definitely shortens that time of the discussion. And they actually discuss what they need much quicker. Mm-hmm. And you got the clock and you have all these other things going on. So it's like, stop wasting your time, because that is something we all struggle with. You know what I mean? We're always trying to perfect, the better use of our time because we waste too much time on certain things. We have a conversation with one of our guys or something and it takes way too long. And it's like, dude, there's a time and a place for this. We need to be able to, have a good balance to, the discussions that we have. So, what do you think is, when you really first started off working with Tom Hopkins, was there just things that you saw him do that you really connected with and you're like, you know what? That's why he's so good. That's why he set the record for selling however many houses that was in 1 year when he was like 18.
It was insane. It seemed valid. Like, it was just crazy and he kept doing it. So the thing that resonated with me with Tom right away is that he was genuine. Like, he wasn't a huckster, because I met hucksters and he wasn't a huckster. Like, he genuinely wanted to help people. Like, he was selling stuff, but at the same time, like, he was genuinely trying to make them better and wanted to educate them. Like, you can feel when someone's like pushy and just, the quote used car salesman, right? Like,
kind of slimy.
Yeah, you can feel that with the guy. And the thing that resonated with me with Tom, like, instantly, the first time I met him was he was real, like, he was genuine. He was sincere. And that always stuck out to me as, because for me, I'm like, man, this guy's doing this in front of 10, 20,000 people, and he's done really well for himself and pretty successful, and he's still willing to take the time and sit down and say, hey, let's break bread and let's talk, and really, he poured a lot of time into me, and it was a really good experience.
That's awesome. I want to circle back just a little bit on that closing the deal, because I think for the listeners, like, that's a pretty important part of every side of this business, because Greg and I talk a lot about how to close, especially the ones that we want. Right. You're talking about when you ask. Some of them we clearly don't want, and at that we usually don't ask for the sale in person. We'll give the email and follow up, whatever. But the ones you want, like in person, the ones you really want. I mean, we talk about this all the time, how to make a better closer number, closer rate, how to figure out. And I think, when we go into a backyard now, which is much different than what we did 3-4 years ago. We have the understanding of, okay, well, this, when we see it, we figure out this is something we want. Like, we don't shy away from asking, do you want to sign up? You want to give me the credit card now on the spot? Do you want to do this? Boom, boom, boom. And that, I think we figured out before, we tried to avoid them in person,
right?
Because we just like wanted to be in the backyard. Boom, boom, boom. Takes 20 seconds, which it clearly does not, to do it properly. But we used to think, I could do a bid in a couple minutes, get back there, take a look at the pool, look at the equipment real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, yeah, $100. Now that's definitely, our process has changed 100% completely. It takes at least 30 minutes now for us to do bids properly, to walk through with the customers. We try to get that face-to-face engagement now, even though sometimes it's awkward if you don't want the project. I think that's still one of the most awkward conversations to have. But, if you, just for the listeners, I think that, that's what changed when we started from being a small little company to where we are now. Like that, the process has changed. The way we look at the pools and we break down we open every pump, look at the O-rings, we look at all the leaks, we try to figure out the plumbing dynamics. Like, is this plumbed correctly? Is it not? Everything that makes for our guys in the field to a better experience. Like, we go through all of that now. And before it was boom, 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 boom. We really want to be face to face now if we can. We really try to close that deal, because that makes it, everybody understands at that point what our relationship is, right? If you're just through an email, like, you never met us, you don't know us. But if you're in person and we can tell you what we do, how we do things, like, in same thing I think with you guys sell a pool, you are on the same understanding of, hey, this is what we are and this is clear. It's laid out for you. And do you want it? Or are we a good fit or not?
So one of the things I do way different now than when I first started is when I get there, the client's like, in the summer, it's a little easier because they don't want to come outside with me. They want to wait till I'm done. And,
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But a lot of times they want to start talking to me. So I'm really upfront with them, like, hey, I need 20, 30 minutes, an hour, depending upon the size of the lot, and whether it's new, remodel, whatever. I need this time outside. I need to measure everything. I need to look at everything right. I need to know where electric is, where gas is, where water is, where all the cleanouts are. If it's a remodel, like you guys talked about, right? I'm walking through all that equipment so I can. And the thing that stood out to me as we were talking there is you said educate, right? You're educating them. You're coming back to them and saying, hey, here's the value that I'm going to bring you that no one else is bringing you, right? Like, this is why I want to do this way. When I'm designing something in my head, I'm also engineering it, right? Like, I'm not doing it so they just have something, but I'm thinking about, why do I want to put this skimmer there? What way do I want to face the lights? Like, I'm looking at that type of stuff so we can make sure we have that time. So I take time with them now, and I'm just like, hey, I just need some time outside. I got to get all these measurements. And then when I'm done, I'll come back in and then we can talk. Because otherwise what happens is they're talking to me. I'm trying to engage them. I miss some of the stuff I need. And then I got to call them. I got to go back. Oh, hey, I missed these measurements. And one of the awesome ones that's changed, that's helped speed-wise for me, is the Makita laser measures. So they have an outdoor rated one. It measures 825 feet.
Wow.
And it saves so much time it's dead accurate. Like, you can go in, I know exactly how far everything is, and it really that's helped save me some time, which I'm not sad about in the summer.
Sure.
Right? Like, I'm not, so then we can sit down and go in, and then I can have, and it sounds, like you guys really do the same. We're having a way more educated conversation with them. Like, hey, we saw your pump doing this. Hey, right, we saw, these O-rings are bad here. This is something you're going to want to service, to show them, hey, we actually care, and we're going to look at this differently.
And that's, it's definitely separated, the clientele we have now from what we used to have. And the pools we have now are so much better, and everybody understands on the same page. And it makes a huge difference.
So let's pick up where we left off. So you're working with a landscaping company, and you're really starting to enjoy being outside and getting to learn that side of the business. Want to talk a little bit more about how you transitioned from that into the pool industry?
Made a ton of mistakes. That's how. So I start using right away, because we're doing stuff for some pool builders. I start using Pool Studio. So this is like, Pool Studio is so much more basic back then, but it clicks. Like, it just instantly clicks for me. And I'm doing all this training, right? And it's like Noah and Ross, and they're so much smaller. And right, like, we could talk to Noah all the time and be like, hey, what about this? What about this? Like, we helped them. We were one of the landscapers that helped them like come out with Vistera, and we were talking to them.
Those are the owners of Pool Studio.
Well, Noah is, okay. And Ross has been there like since the beginning. Ross is their like main tech guy. He's really, really good. Like he knows every trick in the book.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's been amazing to see what I can just. It's crazy to think what I can do now with Structure Studios, software versus what I can do then. But it just clicked for me. Like, wow, I really like design. So I started taking classes. I started going to like different schoolings because I'm like, man, I want to figure this out, right? I started taking the landscaping side, and one of the companies that we started doing stuff for was Brandenburg Pools. So Dave Brandenburg was one of the first Genesis guys in the United States. And his mentor was Dave Tishman. Dave Tishman is one of the most world-renowned pool builders there is. He's an amazing guy, has a great eye for color. And to this day, Tishman really helps me out. If I'm stuck, I can call Dave and like, hey, I need you to look at this. And like, he helped teach me color theory and, but we started working with Dave, and we had a few other pool companies we were doing stuff for, but it really just clicked with Dave. Dave and I just hit it off. We had the same core value principles. Back to if we said we were going to do something, we're going to do it. He didn't want to cut corners. And on the landscape side now, so now I'm learning, right? I'm learning what a plan is, right? Before I could drive down the street, I couldn't tell you what any of that stuff was, right? I couldn't look at trees and be like, oh, that's an oak tree. And that, oh, what version of oak tree is that, right? Oh, that's an olive tree. And right, I just didn't know any of that stuff. And our landscaping is so different here than in California, right? It's funny, I have clients all the time that want me to give them that New England look, and it's just, we're in the desert, guys. Like, I just can only do so much.
Yeah.
And some of it depends on what they're willing to let their water bill be. I can get a lot of stuff to grow here if they're willing to throw a lot of money at water in it, but that's what it takes. But there's still a ton of stuff we just can't do because we're in the desert. We're 1,200, elevated feet. Things just grow differently here. But so I'm learning, and then I'm learning all the hardscape side, right? We're doing outdoor kitchens and barbecues and fireplaces and decking, and it just clicks for me. And Dave and I have a great relationship. So over time, as I learn this, what ends up happening is I'm learning I'm giving all the pool stuff to Dave. Dave's giving all the landscape stuff to me. And then over time, we're both like, man, I'm sick of giving away the pools. And he's like, I'm sick of giving away the landscaping. And, we ended up, deciding after some real serious conversations to partner in together. And Dave was my mentor. Dave was like my brother. My older brother, Dave, was 10 years older than me. And for those that don't know, unfortunately, 2 years ago now, Dave out of nowhere got stage 4 cancer, passed away in 30 days. It was 3 weeks and 5 days. Like, I know it to the day. Like, he ran 15 miles the week before. It was just put my world upside down. But that's who my mentor in this industry was. He taught me so much. Like, he taught me the right way to build a pool, right? He really understood engineering and hydraulics and all the different things you really need to do to build a pool correctly. That concrete actually takes 28 days to cure. It's a chemical reaction. It doesn't dry. It's an actual chemical reaction. So to be fully cured and to actually follow guidelines for properly building a pool, from the day you shoot it, you don't want to put water in it until 28 days afterwards because it's not going to be fully cured till then. That's a principle I hold on to. And yeah, it might take me a little longer to build a pool, but I'm not going to have the issues with it. So Dave really was just an amazing guy. And Brandenburg Pool and Outdoor just took off. We rebranded it. We were doing really well. Dave, started in 2003, so we had a really good name in town. And now we went, had 4 superintendents and a bunch of sales guys. And I was really running sales, design. And then, Dave was running, all the construction. It was like my brother. I miss him every day. When he passed, I actually had to decide if I really even wanted to do this anymore without him. Like, that was like the thing I told my wife is, do I really want to do this without Dave? I don't know if I do because I was in so much shock. And then after some time, I really thought about it, and right, imagine, right, all of a sudden in the middle of this, like, that happens, and we got all these projects going, right? We have millions and millions of dollars worth of work going. So now I'm left to fix it. His family's fighting over his estate, right? Family and money gets involved, and brothers and sisters and, the missus and just everybody just, getting a little crazy with it. And so that's where Artisan was born. I decided that, I really, I talked to some people in town and had, did a few different things. And then I was like, you know what? I actually love what I do. I just love it. And I decided that, I really want to do this, and I want it to be my thing, and I can have control. And, Artisan was born from there. I've done this for a long time now, but that's where, we changed it. And part of it was really coming up with a name, one that I could get everything on, right? That I could actually get the domains and all the social media and the trademarks and the registrations and all that stuff. But something that really described what my core values are and what I did different, right? And, handcrafted, right? Artisan means handcrafted, right? And I'm not just doing this to do this. My masons are skilled. Like, I'll go show you my stone, and I'll go show you how I finish things. And there's only a few in Arizona. There's only a few of us really doing that kind of detailed work, versus just blow and go and doing it. And nothing against that. There's a market for both. But that really described that. And then the elements is because we do everything, right? We do fire, we do water, we do landscaping. We're able to do all of it. And I thought that described us really well.
I just actually saw a Brandenburg pool yesterday. I see them around, and I think you can definitely tell the difference on those pools than a lot of the other pools that we see. The more I think Greg and I are in this industry and start to meet you guys in the building side, I think the respect for Dave grows, and I have a lot of respect for what he did and how he did things. Even though we never met him, I can see, through you and some other people that he's touched that, he made a real big difference in this industry. And I could tell he's a really good man, and you could see that, you can see that through the work. You can see that through the way he taught you guys, those type of communication relationships, those type of things you can see. I have a lot of respect for him, even though I've never met him. And the pools, I saw the pool yesterday, I was like, man, you can tell the time is taken in those pools, the details, the corners, the edges, even the landscaping. I'm sure you guys probably did it, and the landscaping around it was like, really cool, made it really different, backyard experience than a lot of the other pools. So.
And I think that's a great word, right? Is Dave and I do to this day, try to deliver an experience, right? I want it to be an experience. And the question I ask is, clients all the time is like, how big a wow do you want? Like, what's the wow factor, right? When you walk out, do you want to go, wow? Or do you want to go, wow, right? Like, and know that wow costs a little bit more money, but but right, like, what's that level in there of what we really want to do? And one of the things I respected most about Dave is he would not budge from his beliefs. So he was very devout and very strong on them, and I really respected that about him. Dave was the guy that would have sold his house to like pay everybody before. Like, he didn't, like, if something happened, like, he was just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
It was just, and he was, he was my older brother. He was one of my best friends, right? Years and years, all day, every day working together, I miss him. I really miss him.
Yeah.
It was, so our celebration, I'll tell a little side story that I really share with people. So our celebration meal was, we would go, like, when we, like, hey, we hit our goal, or, we killed this project, or we would go get chicken wings. Dave's cheat meal was chicken wings. He was like, the crazy part about him being sick was he was a guy, he never did a drug in his life, never smoked one thing in his life. He drank, but wasn't like an alcoholic or by anywhere close to the means. And just ate all organic. He ran 15 miles a week. He was just like so healthy, right? It's like almost cliche.
Yeah.
But his cheat meal was chicken wings. Like, he loved chicken wings. So I can't eat chicken wings without thinking about him. Every time I do, it just makes me think about him. But we literally would go get a romaine salad, order a crisp chicken wings, and he'd have 2 beers. Like, that was his, like, celebration, right? Like, it was great, man. It was, but that was like our, we had our spot we'd go to. And, but yeah, it's cool. I really have a bunch of stuff recorded. So I would record when Dave would we'd bring all the employees in, and we would teach them about color theory and about water, in transit, how to actually move water, right? So when you do an infinity slot pool with a negative edge, it doesn't sound like a toilet's flushing. Really, I have a bunch of that stuff on video that I'm so thankful I recorded. Because now as I'm training people, I'm like, hey, you're going to watch all these videos because Dave was really good at teaching. Like, hey, this is why we're going to do that. And understanding how water and light work, right? Like most people don't get it that in the color spectrum that red, yellow, and orange can't penetrate further than 18 inches of water in the light spectrum. So to really get a color of water you want, you have to really understand how color and light work, right? Mm-hmm. So like those are things I share with my clients of here's how color works and here's how I get to that color, right? Like when we start talking about pool color, like how do we go? Do you want it to look like Lake Tahoe? Do you want it to look like Bali? Do you want it to look like Mexico or the Caribbean or, right? Like what? Well, I want it blue, but there are 20 shades of blue I can really do in a pool these days. Mm-hmm. So that's all that education and he just taught me so much, right? Because if you're just trying to get in and just learn how to do this, you're going to lose a lot of money real fast. Like, this is a shell of a pool. It's a big deal. It's holding a body of water. And if you don't do it right, you can have some real serious issues.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think I'm really sorry that, you lost, your business partner and such a good friend, brother, and all of that. I think, everybody listening to this, you should really not take a single person that you think is valuable in your life for granted. You know what I mean? Even just hearing that, me and my brother are very close, but, it makes you just kind of think that you really need to enjoy this time you have together because it's always going to be crazy. It's always going to be busy. There's always things that are going on, but, take a second and just be a part of it. Enjoy the moment, get the most of that day because none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or whatever. So super important that, we're all a part of the pool industry, but we have to pay attention to the people that are in our lives, especially the good ones, because, we just never know when our time's up.
Yeah, man, that was a crazy year for me. I had a lot of stuff happen after Dave too. And it was just, I was ready to move on. It was good, how it all ended, but he was a great guy, just mentored me, just taught me so much. And, my pool knowledge comes from him. Like he really taught me the right way to do things. And then now, going to classes and learning and being willing to pick up the phone and say, hey, I don't understand how to do this, right? Like, how do I do this? And not being afraid to call a guy that's done this longer than me and say, hey, I need some help here. And, like, what can I do? And that's, like Dave Tishman, like I'll call Dave and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Like, we want to build this. Can you help me out? And, being really, not being scared to say, hey, I don't know everything and I want to learn, I want to learn this and figure this out, really educating yourself.
Yeah, because the only way, I mean, that's the best way to learn. The only other way to learn is to fail at it. Right. And you don't want to do that with millions of dollars or,
no, you don't. It's not fun.
Yeah, that kind of leads us into the next. So how did you educate yourself, on the industry and how you learned? I know brand Newberg obviously was a big part of that, but how did that happen?
So it started when I started with the landscape company. Like I started going to classes and, I did some stuff through U of A on like desert, botanical xeriscaping and certifications, getting ICPCR, paver certified, and then really just going through and doing a lot of classes on my own. Like I'm willing to go and pick up and go to a class and go learn and go listen and then
where do you find those classes? I mean, even you said just paver. What was that, paver education or something? Mm-hmm. So like that's crazy because we have nothing like that in this industry where you can just go learn. Even landscaping, you can get.
Yeah, so it's now online. It's way easier, right? Like before, the classes were much more limited. That's why Genesis took off the way it did. But now, right, you can. I mean, just go to your vendor partners, right? Go to Pentair site, go to Jandy site, go to Hayward site, there's so much education that these guys have on there now that you can actually go learn how to do it and that's, specific to their equipment. Sure. The real education came from, like I said, Dave was one of the first Genesis certified, but him and Dave Tishman really sitting down and explaining to me like hours at a time, like essentially going through classes with them, like, hey, this is why we're building it this way. Mm-hmm. And this is why I want to build it this way. And, and this is how I want to finish these edges. And here's why we want to do this. And, really understanding architecture, right? Like I started taking online architecture classes and knowing what a plinth is and how to use a plinth to break things up and, how to radius measure. And, I love ASLA, which is, American Society of Landscape Architects, and their show is amazing. And there's so much cool stuff to go learn and see, and really taking that time to, to be surrounded by those people and going through different classes there. And,
where's that show at?
In LA usually. So
I think Bobe, we were just talking about that on the last episode, or the episode with Bobe. We talked about them going to that one. Said it was really good.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge show. Like it makes our pool industry show look like that big. people couldn't see that, but it's real small.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a really big industry, and I've really found some really cool stuff over the years. And that's another one I'll tell you, man, is Chris Kessler with Bobe. That man is an engineer. Like he just like the definition of an engineer. And I've gone to Chris and said, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? It's funny. I have people come in, I'm always looking for different stuff. But I have a few vendor partners, that I say I'm married to. And one of them is them. I love Bobe. I love Chris and Julia. I love their team. I love their product. We've built some amazing one-off stuff together, and I love their normal stuff, like using a smooth flow scupper that's not going to take the weight of the stone laying on it. So the CMP scuppers that you guys see all the time, how they always clog up and there's always stuff in there, Bobes don't do that. Mm-hmm. So for a few $100s more, you're going to have a product that's actually going to last, right? Those plastic CMP ones just don't hold up. They can't, especially with our hard water.
Yeah.
Right? They're always
tough in Arizona.
Yeah, just tough. And then the weight of what people don't realize is the weight of the stone weighting down on them. Over time, it's plastic. It's heat. They say it warps. I've done it. I've ripped enough out to see. Whereas if I'm putting a piece of stainless steel or metal, copper in there, it's going to hold up. And then the way they baffle it really flow through there. And but yeah, I can call and pick Chris's brain and say, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about trying this way? Or, and he's nuts like me where he's willing to be like, hey, let's do that. And, and I'll bring them with them. I listen to that podcast with you guys. We are in the process right now. We're one of the first to install their new automation. We have a project we're putting it in on. And I have pinky promise. I don't want Julie to stalk me at night, so I can only say so much right now until they drop the release.
Yeah,
game-changing technology. It's one of those that how when we look at the JXI heater now, and we look at the heater and go, why didn't we put a bypass in 10 years ago, right? It's just so, you look at it and it's just so that's so simple, but it's so efficient. Why weren't we doing that? It's one of those you look at now duh, I should have seen that the whole time.
Yeah.
The way we're going to run automation now, some of it is we have the tech to do it, but we're going to look and all the other guys are going to look at it and go, we should have been doing this way the whole time. It's really awesome. I'm really excited about it. And, if you're following us, you're going to be able to see some really cool stuff. We're actually doing we're going to have training videos on the install. So we're going to show how to properly install some scuppers and some one-off water features. And we're working with the client. The client's willing to be patient with us on this. And we're going to do some really neat stuff. So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's super cool. We look forward to that since we're really into automation at Brothers, stuff like that. So is this supposed to be automation for everything or just for the water features that are built?
Water fire features. So the features that they're building. When I go, so right now, most 80% of the time, if I'm doing a fire feature, it's not automated, right? You have a manual valve and key. You can turn the key, go light it on fire. Yep. 20% of the clients can involve automation, but we just have issues. There's, as good as some of the best automations are, we just run into some of the issues with it because of how it's designed right now. And Chris completely re-engineered it. It's just, we've been looking at it. I mean, I've known about it for a long time. And fortunately, that part of it is we're here and they're here. So we just get to have a little bit of that relationship with them.
Right.
And back to when they were really small and we were really small, I started using Bobe. Back in 2008, we started using Bobe.
Oh, wow.
When they were tiny, right? And when Julie just started and, right, we were both just these small companies. And it's been really cool to watch.
The progression.
Yeah, man, it's been so cool to watch them come up and where they've gone and what they're doing now. And man, I was just down last month and the new production machines they have in. I mean, that's a $3 million machine they have in there. I Googled it. That's how I found out. I'm like, I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is, because I had pictures like, what is this? I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, the machine costs $3 million. Right? I hope they got a better deal on it, but right. But that's the kind of money they're investing into their company, right? Is to really do that. So to have those kind of vendor partners that we can work with and we can really have that support from is really, really unique. And one of the things they do is they don't sell to the public. Yeah. I love that. I love that it's for contractors and they want to work with designers. They work with designers and architects, but they're helping protect us, and that's a big deal today with some of the things that are going on with some of the products in our industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the online and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not available, and you can't get that quality. Just through contractors, and that's awesome. I know they talked about on their episode how they chose equipment over like a new building, and I think that was at the time I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's not a big deal. But then we went down there and I saw it, and I was like, oh man, no, like that's a big investment. Like you chose, because their building's cool. It's older, but I mean, like you could tell they definitely are squeezing the crap out of that place, trying to fit everything in. And
they're busted at the seams.
Definitely could use an upgrade, but they chose, I think, they chose the quality of the product and the experience of the customer over their own like needs. And I think that was pretty cool. That's what I got out of that a lot was, when they said that. Now I listened to that episode again after we went down there, and I was like, oh man, I get it. Like you chose to make a better product than give you a fluffy new nice building. That's cool.
As they've put all that money back in there, and so we just installed their new Flight series. It's an amazing looking fire pot. It's really unique. Something totally different. We just got the first set in here in Arizona, and they look awesome. Yeah. So just constantly innovating and different styles. So it's not, hey, here's a shear descent scupper, and this is all that we have. Their grass edge.
Yep.
It's so cool the way they designed that. Like,
you got to put it in so you can see it in Arizona, because they said they've never done it in Arizona yet.
So it's funny you say that. We actually have a project coming that we're going to put it in on.
Nice.
Yeah. So they the house is it's up in Scottsdale, and the house is just getting broke.
Okay.
So they're just laying ground. So I mean, we're a year away.
Yeah.
But
you have to let us come check that out.
But yeah, awesome. It's going to be really cool. So half of the front edge of the pool is going to have that edge, and
nice.
We do so little grass out here.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're in the desert, right? That's where, for the guys back east, why they sell it a little bit more back there. But that look of having that grass brought up to the pool is just...
you got to do more like turf here.
Yeah, it's just... Right.
It's just too difficult to keep grass alive. And it makes the backyard experience look worse. You got to get dead grass. You got to flip it twice a year here, and all the process is pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's funny. I joke with my wife now. I'm like, babe, we're never ever gonna have real grass ever again, right?
Nope.
Nope. Right. I'm like the mechanic that doesn't want to work on his car when I get home. Like the last thing I want to do is like work on my landscape when I get home. Like I just did it for 80 hours that week. Like
for sure,
I'm good.
You know what? We talk about this a lot, and I know it gets repetitive as far as mentors, but I think that when you're talking about education, like that is the one thing that you need to have if you want to move forward in this business, right? Because we don't have, like you said, Hayward, Jandy, Pentair, they all have like their online stuff now. If you have a number with them, you can get in the back end and watch the videos, and that's a cool education. But that's just on product. Yep. You don't get to learn all the ins and outs. But like that, the only way I think in this industry to really move forward is to find good mentors, find somebody that you trust, find somebody. And like I said, we touch a base on it a lot, but it's truly changed our game. And I think for you too, you're saying that was like how you learned the most, right?
Absolutely. And I'm still doing it, right? Like there's so much to learn in what we do, and especially because I'm not just doing pools,
right?
It's one of the things I talk about when I'm sitting down with homeowners is I show them how I'm going to plumb the pool. Like I explain to them what total dynamic head is and why I'm calculating the pipe size the way I am and why I'm putting the skimmer where I am so they don't have to look at the stupid flap. That is like, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves.
The weird door.
Yeah. Like you just built this beautiful pool and they put the skimmer on the side that the client looks at from out their slider because that was closer to the equipment and it was easier for the pool guy, right? Like let's have a little bit of detail. But I really, when they're meeting with other people, I say, hey, I want to educate them so then they can ask also real world questions to their other people. Like here's something I hear all the time, and I hear it both ways, and I shake my head. you have the guys that say, oh, building a free-form pool is less expensive. Building a straight pool is less expensive. And I hear it from both sides because these guys, that's all they know how to build. And I explain to them, it's just math, right? It's, it depends on the detail of a curve, right? Like there's only so much I could do with bit in the steel, but for me, it's math. It's this much a foot. It's this many square feet. It's the principle behind that. But really, too, working with our trade, with our vendor partners and going out, Justin with J-Max Plumbing, I'd argue he's one of the best plumbers on the West Coast. That's who we use to do all our plumbing. And I can pick up the phone, and if I got something, man, he'll take my call. And it's just, man, like he's such a resource, to like say, hey, what do you think about this or about this? And I think a lot of guys are scared to do that. Like they don't want to pick it up and call and say, hey, man, I need some help. Like, why are we doing it this way? And like, I love him and his company, Mike and those guys. They're great. He's doing a great job. And like, I'm only as successful as some of those partners. And I'm super, super thankful for him and his company.
I think it goes both ways, right? Because, we have to be willing as a company to ask for help. But that's what we talk about. You listen to some of our past podcasts when we talk about going into SEP and seeing people that have experience are so cold and not open to sharing information. And that has to change in order for this industry to keep growing and keep getting better together and raise that bar. Because if we can't ask for help and you're not willing to share it, then it's just going to die. I mean, you have all the knowledge, right? There's nothing for us to learn really other than through mentors and learning from other people's experiences. So you have all the knowledge. You have to be able to share that a little bit. You don't have to share your, secrets, the ones that make you different than other people. But, the basic learning knowledge and all that, it has to go both ways. You have to be willing to ask and you have to be willing to share.
And so that's where, for me, I actually disagree as far as, let me explain where I mean I disagree. Sure. I'm willing to share all my secrets. And I know we're going to circle and talk this a little bit about it, but that's, you hear all the time, right? 99% of the people aren't going to do anything with it anyways. Yep. But the clients love it. The clients love me explaining like why I put the rebar the way I do in a pool, right? Like standard rebar engineering in our town allows for 12 on 12, which means every 12 inches and every 12 inches for the steel to be there. That's, for me, not a strong enough starting point. So I start with 6 on 12. So every 6 inches and then every 12 inches. And then we're actually doing soil reporting. And so when I'm digging the pool, I actually know what I'm getting into because the soil is very different in Arcadia than it is in Anthem and Gilbert. Anthem and Gilbert, right, is real sandy, real clay. We did a pool last year where, the people were coming in and looking, it was a diamond pool in Gilbert, and they were looking at the rebar that was in the pool. They were losing their minds. And they were like, what? I'm like, because this is engineered properly, right? I'm not going to have any issues with the shell. And you can really have that happen and real fast. And man, if the engineer's got to come out and start looking at it, you're just going to tear your pool to shreds trying to figure out what was wrong, right? So you really want to take the time and actually understand how to do it. So I want to share with people like, hey, here's how you do it. Call me. I'll tell you how and why I build it the way I build it. Why I put 5 bars of bond beam in there, and I'm not trying to skimp on $100 to have issues later, right? Like they've spent a lot of money with me, and I want the client to understand that they're getting a little bit different product.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable, man. I think it's a cool approach you have to it because, what I meant by secret, I meant like Bobe has like a specific one thing that they
absolutely.
make that makes them different. But I mean,
makes sense.
As far as like sharing, like I think sharing how you do things better is for sure what people want to learn, and how those things need to be shared, like that.
And I think our industry as a whole is a lot older right now. There's not, it's just the trades in general, right? Like for those who don't know, I mean, labor shortage in Phoenix is serious right now. Like every single person could use more labor. I don't care if you're a plumber, an electrician, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's hard to get masons. Like masons are worth their weight in gold in Arizona right now because the economy's real well, but having guys that actually know what they're doing. But there's some really knowledgeable guys in our industry that aren't, that have it all locked up and they don't want to share it because it's their secret sauce. And, I want to share it with people. I want to say, hey, this is what I learned. This is how I understand it. And, really, really help educate them. So that's where I was, talking about on that side of it. I do think some of those guys are like hiding it, and I would love them to share, man. I'd love to learn, come on, let's go have lunch and figure some stuff out.
That's how you keep it alive. That's how we do with our families. You educate your children on the way you do. Your name, your last name gets passed on, and those are how are you your values and core values and things through your children and families. Like that's what has to happen in a business too, or in the industry. Like otherwise, that just dies. What's up, guys? We hope you're enjoying the episode so far. When we get back, Trevor will talk about his transition from landscaping to pools and how they are completely different. He'll also jump into Artisan Elements design and pool building process and how he sticks to a core value of principles. We will get into how Trevor and his team stay organized in the whole process with everything going on. Also, we have so much windshield time in this industry, so we get into a great discussion on how to utilize that time better, how to take advantage of those opportunities when we have them now. And, Trevor will talk about a little bit about how he uses virtual and augmented reality to now show his clients what their backyard can look like. So that's pretty amazing when you think about it. We can do that type of stuff in this industry, and it's so cool. Craig and Trevor go back and forth on some social media topics. We talk about, analytics and how to utilize them. They also get into how the mobile side of the business is growing, and you definitely need to start focusing on that as well as the website. Trevor talks about his 2 favorite projects, which are pretty awesome, and then he kind of drops a bomb on us where he decides that he wants to switch from Pentair to Jandy equipment, which was a big move for him. So we discussed that. Also, we get into some of the books and podcasts he recommends. So there's a lot of good content left, guys. So stay with us, and we'll jump right into it after a word from our sponsor.
What's going on, everybody? This episode is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is by far our favorite tool for collecting deposits, payments, scheduling customer jobs, and assigning tasks to a specific person on our team. If you're looking for a better way to stay organized, this is it. I don't even know how we did things before Jobber. If you have any questions, their customer service team is out of this world. Jobber is so cool that they are hooking up all of our listeners with a free 14-day trial. Just visit getjobber.com/poolchasers. That's getjobber.com/poolchasers. Try it out. We promise you won't be disappointed. So what would you say was the most difficult part of adjusting to the pool industry when you made that transition from landscape to pools? Because it's totally different. I mean, even though you were setting up landscape near the pool, I mean, was it just educating yourself, not understanding the people within the industry? What was it that it took some time?
All of the above. Fortunately, I had Dave, and that really helped. The big one for me up front is you're relying on subs, right? And we all self-performed everything. So, we had our own masons, our own electricians, our own plumbers. When we're self-performing, I have absolute control over that. One of the big things up front was, wow, I don't get to control this anymore. It's like I'm relying on my excavator. I'm relying on my steel guy. I'm relying on my plumber. That was terrifying for me because I couldn't control it. Right. I'm like I don't have that control side. And then really understanding that I thought I knew plumbing and I did not know plumbing. Right. Like Dave really spent a lot of time educating me on how to calculate total dynamic head and how flow works and, how to move water in transit and understanding hey, this is why we want to build it this way. And it was just, I was overwhelmed at first. It's like, wow, this is a lot. You never realize how much information it really takes to properly build a pool. It blew me away. I was like, I always thought, whatever. The pool's the easy part, right? Go put some steel in, shoot it with some concrete, put an interior, and you're done. And I was wrong.
To do it correctly.
Correct.
Nice. So this leads us to our next question. What exactly is Artisan Elements and what, makes your company different?
So Artisan Elements it's handcrafted and we're different. I'm involved in every project. I don't want to go down to the route where we're trying to. I'm not trying to be a big production pool builder. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I'm passionate about. And there's a niche for that, a big niche in our economy here. That just doesn't. That's not what I want to do. So for me, it's really having a core set of principles that I live by. And one of the major ones being is if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I'm a professional. When I do guaranteed maximum pricing on my bids, which means I'm the professional. I should know what I'm doing. If I forgot it and I missed it, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to come back to you and say, hey, oh, we forgot to add this, and we forgot to add this, and we forgot to add this, because I don't know what I'm doing. I should know better. I should be able to look at it and say, hey, this is the stuff we really need to do. And then a lot of times what I have is a lot of people are like, wow, that's not in everybody else's bids. So that really, I think, is one of the things that sets us apart is I'm really saying up front, like, hey, this is why this is in here. This is why I have this in here. The other thing is that we're willing to, I have a hard time saying no. So I'm willing to try like crazy stuff. Like when a client says, hey, I looked at this and do you think we could try this? And I love being able to sit down and say, okay, how do I engineer that? Like, how do I come up with that? You know, because it's great if you can design it, but can I build it? Right? Like I can design whatever I want, right? Can I real world functionally build it? But the way I describe us is we're a full service design build, outdoor pool landscape, all the elements contract. We build ramadas, we build pergolas. So we take it from cradle to grave. You don't have to sub it out to other guys. You don't have to, hey, I got to find a landscaper when I'm done. And I get why a lot of guys, you see them, they try to come in and get into the landscape side of it on the pools, and they lose their lunch because they don't know it. Just like you can on the pool side, right? If you don't understand what you're doing, it goes there. We also do a lot of remodels. I'm willing to tackle pretty much any remodel. That was one of the things that Dave was really good at, and he taught me how to do it because it's so different than building a new pool. It is way harder to remodel. So I love the challenge of how do I take this old tired pool and make it new? And sometimes I just got to rip it out. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times is, right, because there's more pools built here now than new pools being built. So I do remodels, and I'm really willing to tackle stuff that doesn't go there. And we really have two divisions of our remodel side. So we do a lot of just interior tile, redo the deck, and I call it, my milk, eggs, and bleach, right? The store sells it. We're going to do it. We're functional at it. It's fair price. And we just have that niche because that was how Dave started. So I just have a lot of referrals and a lot of contacts, and I just get a lot of work from that still. And some of the things I do, though, is like if I'm redoing acrylic decking, my acrylic decking, I'm not just using preferred deck in town. I'm actually using a deck that gives the homeowner a lifetime warranty. It's a way stronger, coated product because it's not Cool Deck anymore. The reason it was Cool Deck is because there was asbestos in it. So that brand name Cool Deck was where that came from, but they were putting asbestos in it. As we know, asbestos is very, very bad for human beings. Mm-hmm. So now it's an acrylic topping. And now with tech, they're starting to come up with some cool new, sealers to kind of help cool it down. But concrete's pretty much guaranteed to do one thing outside here. If it's not post-tension slab, it's going to crack. So that's where the natural stones really come in. We do a lot of limestone, a lot of marble, a lot of travertine, and always looking for new products there. And then we do full-scale, large, custom remodels. And one of the things I do that's different on the remodel side is I'll actually do designs for their remodels. Like not just on a piece of paper or flat 2D design, but I'll do a full-scale 3D, model for them. So then, because part of that helps me figure out how I'm going to engineer it, how I'm actually going to build what I need to build. But then I'm able to come in and show them, through the Structure Studio software, how we're actually going to build it and what it's going to look like when it's done. And one of the coolest reactions I get is when the client's like, wow, like it really looks like what you designed. Like they're always like blown away by like how it looks when we're done. Like that's my favorite part is when, not my favorite, is one of my favorite parts of just seeing them go, wow, like you really delivered what you're going to say. And it's funny, I tell clients up front, you're going to freak out at least twice during this. Like you're just going to freak out. And they do, because it's a lot of money, right? And it's just, they don't understand the process, right? So they're looking at it and they think there's no way, they'll look at it and go, there's no way this is going to look like we said it's going to look like. And then when they're done, they're like, you're totally right. Like we totally freaked out and it totally looks like what you said it was going to look like. So, right. It's just our process and getting them there and walking them through it. And, we're a family company. My construction manager, who's awesome. He's been in the industry for a long time. Used to work, he started with some landscape side, but then was running California Pools landscape division. And he's also my younger cousin. So, the trust factor is awesome. I trust him so much. Like, I'm so happy he's on my team. He's bust his butt. And I know if I have to micromanage you, I have the wrong person. Him, we just set off. He's making sure it's getting done, and he's on it. He's really good with clients. He cares. He genuinely cares. And that's, as you guys know, having employees, right? Like, they're never going to care as much as we do, right? Because they don't own the company. But if we can get him to that 90% range, man, that's just a huge win. And he does, man. He genuinely cares. He's great for the clients. He wants to deliver a great product. And it gives me, it's so awesome to have that by my side. Like, it's funny now, I say sometimes, I'm like, I wonder if this is how Dave felt like when I was there with him. Like, he just knew he could completely trust me, and I could completely trust him. And there was just that great respect factor. And so it's funny, his name's Jamin, and nobody can say his name right ever. So he gets called James, and it's Jamin. It's
called J-Man.
Yeah, J-Man. A lot of the workers call him Yaman. So, but yeah, I couldn't be as successful as I am without him. The team we have is just awesome.
You're always only as good as your weakest link.
Yep. Every
Definitely.
time.
So it sounds like you have a ton of moving parts with remodeling and building a new pool and landscape and all these different things. How in the heck do you keep all this stuff organized? Because I'm just putting all this stuff together in my head. I mean, you still have to pick the materials up. You have these different crews. You could be on multiple projects. There's so many things going on. How do you keep that organized?
I'm insane. So I'm just crazy OCD about that stuff. So it's funny, they talk about as a kid, like, I didn't know how this would play into effect, but I'm just, the only way you can do it is if you're super organized, and it's discipline. You have to say, hey, I'm going to set this time aside each day to make sure we're managing all their stuff. I talk to Jamin more than I talk to my wife. I talk to my wife a lot, but we talk all day, every day, about, hey, this is what's going on. We're on all our projects, right? Because we're doing, right, like I said, we have the stuff, I'm doing, an interior tile and doing, some decking or just overlaying a deck or something versus, right, we have these, $1, $2, $3, $500,000 projects we're doing that we're on for 6 months or a year, and we're really, really, married to. So it's just, I've developed some stuff in place. We have some software we're using to really help keep track of everything. We started with ProEdge. Dave and I, that's what we used, and we're excited to see what's kind of where they're coming. And then we also have an accounting side software that we use, and it's just keeping track of everything and be really willing to most people they get home, right? You're wasted, especially here, right? It's so hot here, right? You've been outside, like, oh man, I need to cool down for an hour. You get in and go jump in the pool, cool off, and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to rest a few more. And then you don't do it. Like, you got to discipline yourself to do it, and really figure out what policy and procedures work for you, and then communicate with the clients. Like this morning, we were supposed to start a demo this morning at a new project, and I have another demo lined up behind it. And unfortunately, the demo they were on before this is taking longer than we expected. It's demo. It's not, there's a little bit science, there's a little bit art, right? And I just don't, as much as I think, hey, it might take this long, sometimes it takes longer. So really being willing to sit down with the client and say, okay, hey, like, boom, I got the call on the way here. Like, I had to make an adjustment. Okay, I got to push this to here. I got to push this one to here, right? Summer's coming out, right? It's May now. Everybody's freaking out, right? Like,
yeah.
So, right, nobody wants to hear that, but it's, are you willing to step up to your client and say, hey, this is what's going on? Just communicate with them. This is where we're at. This is the process we're going through. And really taking the time to sit down and, like, once a week, we meet, we go over every job. So we're like, hey, this is where we're at on this job. This is where we're at on this job. So I just know every project that's going on. So we can say, hey, this is what we got to do. And the other side of it is I'm willing to go get my hands dirty. Like, I'm not scared to go, hey, I'll go plug auto, I'll go take my computer out and set up automation. Like we had, we got that rain, on that week and a half ago. I had 2 pools to shoot that day, right? Shooting interior and pools. And it just, right? So next thing you know, domino effect. And then, we, having startup guys and, I had to go out and go do one myself. So, right, I'm not scared to go do that. It's not the best, use of my time. That being said, it's, that is the best use of my time. It's both, right? It's both sides
do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah, we talk about that. I mean, even yesterday we were talking about the use of our time. Like, I had to run up to
Rio Verde.
Rio Verde. Right. So there's an hour just gone.
Yeah. So like, and all I had to do was adjust an autofill, right? And I'm like, nobody on our team can do it. Everybody's schedule's full. I'm not going to like force them to overwork, and it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm driving up, driving up there to pull a corky up 2 freaking clicks, and it's like, come on, man. But I mean, when using that to see you're focusing on the client experience, right? So that's what I did. He emailed in, he's worried about it. It's not high enough or whatever. And I'm taking care of the client. And that's you going out and doing a startup. It has to be done. You don't want to push it. It's what it is. You're taking care of them, communicating. And all right, well, that's definitely not best use of my time. But yeah, I can use it. You figure out their ways. Like I listen to certain podcasts and learn, or I make phone calls that I know are going to take me a while to discuss, and they'll be like, well, instead of doing it later, I'll just do it now while I'm driving up there and whatever. You just make the best use of your time. But yeah, definitely get that angle of it.
I think about that. It's funny you say that. I think about it all the time, how much more useful. I do all my phone calls while I'm driving now because of that, because I have so much windshield time, right? My truck is 2 years and 3 months old, and I have 80,000 miles on it, right? Like,
wow.
This is what we do. We drive, right?
Yeah.
I drive because I do projects. 90% of our stuff is, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Arcadia, Phoenix. I do a lot in Central Phoenix right now, a lot of remodels there. But then I do a decent chunk out with Gilbert.
Yeah.
And there is,
wherever the money's moving.
Right. There's a lot out there right now. And
There is.
We're just driving all the time. So the 2 ways is I do my phone calls, and it's funny you brought up the podcast. For years, if I plug in my phone and I just listen to YouTube, right? I do a lot of audio books. That's where I'm also taking time and learning and doing stuff. Like I'm listening to a book right now my wife recommended, and it is, I just started. I'm only like 3 or 4 chapters in this new one, but it's been great so far. The guy was the head negotiator internationally for the FBI. So man, just starting out, just talking about like things, like I'm really interested to hear like techniques and things he learned and did it for 25 years, right? But like the hostage negotiations, like he had to do, and how you can like use those principles and just dealing with your day-to-day life. So right, taking advantage of that time, in the car, we all have in our industry, we have lots of windshield time. Guys in other states, right? Like, they're saying they're traveling all over the place, right? Because they don't have the volume that we have. Right, if you're in Tennessee, you don't have the volume. So, right, the guy lives in Knoxville and he's, having to drive, across state to build a pool, right? So you just gotta figure that out. We also do some stuff up in Sedona, so we get some remodels up there, and we got a good little niche up there, and done a lot over the years. And same, right? So it's just willing to spend the time but take advantage of that, man. There's, I think about, man, to go back to Tom Hopkins thing, right? How much time I spent in the car and how unproductive I was compared to how productive I can be now. And then the other thing I'm doing when I'm driving, it's like a hobby. I look at like how many people are on their phone and not paying attention to the road, and it scares me, terrifies me.
It scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I saw somebody this morning on my way in. It's probably like 5:30, and they went up like on the medium. You know what I mean? It was like a little, like, I don't know, one of those little Toyota SUVs, but it went up on it, and it took them a minute to correct it and all this. And I was just like, dude, I bet my next paycheck that they were on their 100%. Cell phone not paying attention. You know what I mean? And it's really scary. I hope Elon figures out a way to make these cars drive themselves and affordable, so that we can all
there's definitely, good ways to use that time. Even from 5 years ago when I used to drive around, I used to just listen to music, right? All the time. And now I wish I had those 5 years back of cleaning pools and like being in the backyard of like, oh man, I could like actually learn things while you're just doing. And that's when we talked about yesterday, about this podcast, and I think it's been longer. A lot of them have been longer than we thought they were going to be. And at the first we were kind of worried about that. But then we were talking about yesterday, and we're like, what else are we going to, you got, this is your industry, right?
Right.
Like what else? If I was in the field and I was doing that, like I think that's cool, because then you have hours, even though you may not finish it like right away, but you got something to listen to that's in your industry. And I think it's been, we've accepted that they're probably going to be longer because of the style and the way we've done it. And I think it's cool. I hope other people
and
do.
You can always pick up where you left off. You can jump into another podcast. I'm notorious for jumping in and out of a million different podcasts. So you just, when you're ready to listen to that again, you just pop back in and pick up where you left off. So it all works out. Kind of going back to, technology and, you're talking to the customer and educating them on what they're going to get. We recently heard your podcast on the Protractor podcast, and it was awesome. I love, the movement of the Protractor and everything that they're doing. I think it's great. But one thing that really stood out was you were talking about, VR, which is virtual reality, and how, you're either implementing it right now or you're going to. But I just thought that was so crazy because, like he said, I didn't know that it was, that close. I know they're doing it for games and things like that, but as far as like our industry, I didn't even think that was anywhere, in our site.
It's not only here, you can use it. So clients, I've found two things: either love it or they hate it. So it either makes them nauseous, like, because it's not, like they'll get a little, like, if I got like elevation changes and stuff. So I found like they have to sit in a chair, right? And it has to be able to swivel, right? So I want them to sit in a chair that swivels so they can move it around. But it's awesome. I love it because I can really but when they love it, they fight over the headset. It's great. The husband and wife will both be like, no, I want to see it now. No, I want to see it now, right? And they're going back and forth, and it's crazy. It's one of the things where Structure Studios is just so far ahead. So they just dropped. Not only do we have VR, and we've had that for a while, is they just dropped. It's called AR, augmented reality. So I have an app now through them on my iPad, and we literally just got it. We're just starting to use it. But now I can go out and AR drop their pool into the yard. So I go out with my iPad and I circle their yard and it marks everything. And then I take my design and I put it in there. So now you can stand on your porch, and if people could see me at home, like move the iPad around and you can actually see it in real time and see what it looks like in your background. It is, it's just game changing.
I saw the video and I was tripping out. I was like, this could not be real.
It's so awesome.
Because it's real.
Right.
It's their backyard, in real time, where you're just kind of panning in their backyard, and it's putting everything you created.
Thanks, Pokemon Go.
Right?
Yep.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it's
seriously.
Oh man!
Remember when we first saw that and we were like, "What the heck is this?" And your phone's like moving with the.
Oh
and I was
yeah.
like, we don't really play. I don't have time for that.
That's a
but
trip.
I saw like the augmented reality of it, and you're like, "Whoa!" I had to turn it off because it made me sick too.
Well, that's and then the other one we do with that is we have full 360 pictures now. Facebook, the guys are coming around. Facebook still has the best app for it. So what I'll do with clients is, once they're signed and on board with the design, we'll put a 360 picture up for them. So then they can go stand outside. I show them where I'm going to take the picture from, and then they have a 360 design pic of their yard. So the team over at Structure is really changing the game, and they're really, really, they're really trying to work on stuff for our industry. And
that's cool. They're so progressive at that.
Yeah. I think about it like 10 years ago, what I was doing, just say 10 on Structure Studios versus what I can do now. I mean, it's crazy, like how much more complex. We were joking earlier. The only problem is so because I need it to be mobile, not a desktop. I have to drag around a $2,500, $3,000 laptop, and it lasts like 18 months, and then the software is obsolete. And I got to update the cards again.
Yeah.
So, but it's price of admission for what it's worth. And what's crazy to me is how few guys are still using it. There's so many guys in our industry that are just designing in 2D, or they can do it basically. Don't take the time to learn it. They have an amazing, you can do online classes. That's how I got good at Structure Studios. They have online classes. I still do them. I took one 4 months ago. Took another one because the software is always updating. And I know 80% of it, 95% of it. Man, look at this new thing we can do now, because their updates are always, always changing. And, I'm trying to get it as close to, hey, this is what we're actually going to build for them as we can.
Have you seen that help you close sales?
It's a game changer, right? Because when I can walk them through the process, like new remodel, landscape, whatever it is, and I can say, hey, this is what we're really going to do, and they can really see what it's going to look like. It's funny, it's getting so good that homeowners, they're not built to design the house per se. So we get into these big high-end custom homes, right? I'm never going to be able to do the house justice. I mean, I can do some of it, but just I can't do it justice. But the homeowners will be like, well, hey, my brick's not right there, right? And you're like, remember, this is on the house. This is the actual footprint, because it's all the scale. And then we're taking that, and turning it into architectural drawings. And, my drafters and CAD guys are all, breaking down actual plans from there.
Nice. That's cool. Do you use any of that for educational purposes? I know a lot of companies like Walmart and stuff like that are using, VR technology to actually teach their team different things.
Yeah, we're not there yet in our industry, unfortunately. I would love for it to be like, I'd love to be able to like VR the equipment better to scale, right? So like one of the things I push is I wish, so like in structure studios, like the heater's generic, the pump's generic. I would love for that to be able to say, like, hey, this is actual Jandy equipment. This is Pandera equipment. That would be really neat.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That's cool. Do you have a say-so in how they build some of that software, or?
It's not, we don't have a say-so, but they listen to us. One of the things they're great about is they are listening, right? So when they hear enough requests of, like, hey, this is coming, like, like, and I've beta tested stuff for them over the years, and just because we've done, used it so long. But they're really good about, hey, like, hey, we want to get these plants in, or hey, we want to see these trees in, or hey, what do you think about doing that? And like they've done some stuff recently, a really cool one. I've asked. It's funny, I've asked for it for. It's been so long I couldn't remember. They finally got it in. And I'm like, it was like an auto stair fill feature. And I was so excited about it. I'm like, finally, like, because they had it for like stairs, but they didn't have it for in the pool, and they dropped it. So now I can like auto calculate the stairs way faster. And it's just time saver, right? The more that can help me like save time, the more I can work on the cool details of the actual design.
How long do you think a design averages takes?
Wow. Totally depends on the yard, right? Yeah. I can be into one 2 to 4 hours on a small scale. And I mean, I'm 10, 20, 30, 40 hours, depending upon, the scale of the project.
So when you walk in the backyard, you pitch it, you look at their design, and then you start building it. It can take how long to build it to show them? Oh yeah.
So usually if it's complex, 2, 3, 4 weeks, for me to have time to really work it into my schedule. And, one of the things is we're charging for the design, right? My time's valuable. I've had too many people over the years take my designs and lose them. And, we want, my time's worth something, right? I'm not a sales guy. I'm an actual designer that understands principles and how to do it. And clients are willing to pay for that. Clients are willing to say, hey, we want it designed right. And, we want to actually have something that, we can go down that road with.
I think that circles back to when you were talking about making sure the client and you are both a good fit for each other. Is that something that you find then if you go into somebody that asks you, or I think you talk about you do phone interviews first or something, right?
Right.
With the client so that you don't waste your time going in the backyard. Is that something you find you're running into where you only have these specific clients and you're just not talking to the people who want more of a basic pool, or how does that kind of?
No, so I build. Here's the crazy part: I build basic pools. I mean, I'm building one right now.
Yeah,
like I do. So it's funny. I like to show, right. We show the cool stuff on Facebook and Instagram and on the website, right? But I do normal jobs. Like I'm building a $40,000 pool right now. Like it's a referral thing for me, right? I very rarely do I think it's not going to be a good fit unless they want. Usually the only time that is if they want me to do a really, really complex design and they don't want to pay for it.
Sure.
Right. They want, or they want me to do it and they want to take my design so they go shop it out. That's fine. But I'm not, you got to buy it from me. Right. You're not getting that for free. And I get some of these other guys will come give you a basic, layout, but I'm going to give you a fully landscaped, detailed, design. So really just, and that first conversation up front is there. And what's awesome now is how, Facebook and Instagram have changed the game. Like for me, just changed the game. So, I don't have the marketing budget of some of these big production pool builders in town, right? And I'm never going to have it. But I have the ability to get in front of the clients now. And it is a just total game changer of like how much people are following us that I didn't even realize. It's actually it's humbling and it's really cool.
Yeah. Do you find what I think I meant by that a little bit was like the clientele you're finding that that's who you want to be around right now, now as of before,
for sure.
Because you're not having to, because I think we deal with that a little bit more now too, is or the clients that we're getting are more appreciative for what you do. We still get some phone calls from people that don't understand, and those are a little bit difficult, but you're just getting those clients now that appreciate the art, right? And so,
well, they've been following us now. So now they've stalked us for a while and they followed us, and like they know what they're getting, right? They've seen our process. So when they're reaching out, it's not very rarely am I getting a cold call per se. Like they've done their homework and they want to work with us. They want to work together. I got a direct message the other night. It was awesome. She's like, she's followed me for like 2 years now, and they're finally ready to do her backyard. I think she said it was like 2, and she was like, yeah, I followed you. I've never seen her I went back and looked. I've never seen her like her picture. She never commented on anything, but she told me about stuff that like from like 9 months ago, like on a story. So like you're like, oh wow, like you're really like she's really watching. So it's amazing how many people are actually watching now, and that's why I love what I can do now is I can actually document and really show them what we're really doing, right? Like, hey, this is the process of how it's really going, on a few jobs, and really let them see behind the curtain. And I think that makes clients way more comfortable. So when they reach out, it's usually a really good fit up front.
So is that how you find you're now kind of marketing your business more?
Yeah. So I stopped 1, 2, 3.5 years ago doing Google AdWords. I don't do any Google AdWords. So this is probably a good transition here. So I got sick of all these marketing companies saying, oh, do this, and oh, do this, and oh, do this, right? And they all had their answers. And I literally probably spent 100 hours of my own time learning this stuff. And so I really just started going through and get into it, and then found a bunch of guys and research, and then I just started stalking some stuff, right? Like I was like, okay, hey, how are they doing this way, and how are they doing this way? And it was funny. So Dave was really old school and not a big internet guy, and just wasn't his thing. So I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do with our marketing money. He's like, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, here's the deal. Like he actually didn't want to do it. I said, I'll pay for it myself, but I could keep all the profit.
Right?
Yeah.
He was like, all right, let's go. And then he started seeing the quality of leads we're getting in. I mean, I was doing Facebook. Like I said, I was doing Facebook ads back in 2015, right? Like I was paying 10 cents a click, right? Meanwhile, Yelp and Google are $10, right? Like it's just ROI. Like it just made sense. And it changed our company. Like, because when we started showing people the behind the scenes and what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we had that portfolio being around, and then they loved it. They started following me, and then I just started learning, right? I made some mistakes and just started growing it, and a lot. I mean, it's funny now. People ask, like, I get people ask all the time, how are you everywhere? I'm not exaggerating. I'm probably at minimum 4 hours a day in my phone for work with Instagram, Facebook, messaging people back. Like, it's work. I mean, it's funny. I joked the other day. I probably have $10,000 in video equipment I carry. I mean, I carry a Mavic, Pro drone. I have a DSLR. I have a GoPro. I have 2 gimbals. I mean, I'm just carrying right
in it for
yeah,
sure.
like I'm a media company. I want to show them what we're doing and show them how we're different. And now we can. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think that's cool that you decided not to hire an SEO company and do it yourself and do the research, because I know there's a lot of people that they just don't know because they don't look at the Google Analytics.
Yep.
They don't look at some of these website builders. You can look at the analytics on that side of it too.
Right.
But the numbers don't lie. You know what I mean? And you don't think something is coming from a place. If you use those tools, you can really track that. Oh, like Yelp, for instance.
Yep.
We get crazy messages from there, and they don't usually go anywhere, but we can track that the good leads are going to Yelp and they're bouncing to our website, and then they're making a call or they're doing a website inquiry. Yep. And the ones that make the call or do the website inquiry, those are usually like the very promising leads, because the messages you can copy and paste it and send to every pool service and repair company within a 20-mile radius to try and get the best price. We understand that, and you have to respond to get that response rate down. But the quality leads are coming from the ones that are actually calling in, but they're coming from that source, and you have to be you have to do your research, and you have to pay attention to it enough to really understand that, okay, wow, that is my return on my investment of time and putting pictures on there and talking about the business and responding to the reviews and all that different stuff. But same thing with the SEO, you know what I mean? You invest your time in it, but you have to be able to, you have to track that every day. You have to do a simple Google search. I do it every single morning where it's pool service Scottsdale,
Right.
pool repairs Scottsdale, automation Scottsdale, and see where you're coming up in that organic rank. You have to pay attention to the mobile. The mobile is completely different. You could be on the first page on desktop and you could be on the third page on mobile. It's all different, and everything's all switching to mobile. Even within the last year,
It's crazy.
the percentages are insane. So I think if you decide to go down that route, down that road, you need to pay attention to all that stuff, because you can't say, oh, this doesn't work. You know what I mean? You got to pay attention to what's going on. You know what I mean?
For sure. So it's funny you bring that up. So I see I literally look at that every day too. So generally what we see is the same thing, right? They're going to Google or Yelp, right? They're looking at reviews, they're doing their research. And then from there, okay, let's go to the website, let's go to Houzz, let's go to Pinterest, right? And then from there, they're looking at all the pictures. And then it's, oh, hey, let's follow them on Instagram or Facebook. And then they reach out, right? Like that's my funnel. And I can watch them. It's really cool what you talked about, right? Like we can literally track them now. I'm like, I watch them bounce from there. I watch them bounce from there. I watch them bounce from there. Like I can see where they're going, right?
And the cool thing is you can see how much time they spend there. And I think that's one of the most valuable things is you can actually see what's wrong with certain pages, because it's like, man, they go right to my pool service tab and they're only there for 20 seconds. What is going on here? What is it about this page that's throwing them off? And they don't bounce anywhere else. They get out immediately. Right. And that should be able to tell you something when they're going there and they're only spending 10, 15 seconds there, that there's something in there that they don't like.
Or they're looking for.
Yeah. And it's not very clear about what you do. There's something in there that, they just don't like. But it's super important to look at the analytics side of it. The numbers don't lie, and what they're doing don't lie. I know who does lie.
Yeah.
some company that steps in and, you just pay, $5,000 a month and we'll run all your social media and do all that.
And you can see the guys who do it, right? There's no authenticity.
No.
Right? Like that's, that's what people want now. People want authenticity. They want to see that. They want to see that, hey, you're real and what's going on. And, it's just there. And, it's crazy to watch how they I get these calls, and or even better is when I get like a message, right? And they're like, hey, we can help you with this. And I have more followers than them, right? Like, listen, if I have more followers than you, then you don't know what you're doing, right? Like you got to, right? Like it's crazy to me. Like I'll have somebody with like 500 followers be like, hey, I can help with your SEO. I'm like, I think I'm doing okay. Like my insights tell me like, hey, I'm doing this really well. And it's just been learning, right? I just spent time and I learned. And then, I would see like, oh, hey, how are they doing this? And not just in our industry, like everybody, like, hey, how do they track? And, we've talked about them a lot, but that's, how I ended up, listening to a lot of GaryVee stuff. So we're part of the reason it clicked is like, we're the same age, right? We're both 41. We grew up at the same time, the baseball card, like it's just the wrestling, like it was the age group, right? We're boys in America during that time. But what I did was the proof in the pudding for me was this, is if you started listening to him, years ago, so this is like 14, and I'm listening to him, and they had just, Vayner's starting to get bigger, and they talk about Sour Patch Kids, and they change the game. So what I do is when I want to see something, I go clear all my catches, right? And then I got one of my nephews to clear all this stuff because he's like their target demographic, and I started searching and liking stuff about the candy. And what I did is I watched how they remarketed me. Oh, this is what they're doing. And then I'd figure out, oh, hey, this is how they did it, right? I reverse engineered it, right? So I'll do that now. Like when I see like a company, like, hey, this is what they're doing. How are they doing it, right? I'll go clear all my catch and say, hey, this is what you're doing. I want to see how you're marketing and how are you targeting me, right? Are you using Facebook Pixel? Are you, what stuff are you using? And I'll clear it. And then I'm like, okay, cool. That's how they're tracking me. Here's what they're doing now. And then I really started to figure out like, okay, here's what it is. And then it was trial and error, right? Okay. Doing different ads. Like, okay, they respond this way. They respond this way. And our product is so visual, right? It's one of the cool things for the way we're set up mobile now. One in four searches are done. Here's what's crazy on mobile in voice now, Like, that's a crazy number, right? And it's going up every day. Like, I'm watching the stats and you're like, wow, like that's really going up. So really understanding, how to market and where to go after them. And then letting them just see the product, right? It was the document, don't create. And it really helped. That really helped me, like, and he says it like, I just started watching what they were doing. I'm like, oh, hey, why did they brand this way? So here's the funny part. I tell the story. This is where it went, right? So I still do Snapchat, right? But I'm doing Snapchat, all the video before Instagram added stories, right? And I'm like, watch, Snapchat's going, and Snapchat, this is right when it's blowing up, right? Back in like 15, 16, right? When Snapchat's really taken off, when DJ Khaled and all that like kind of hit, right? So I'm learning how to story and how to do all this stuff. And Snapchat is not my demographic in any sort of way, and even remotely. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn how to do this, and I want to learn how, and blah, blah, blah. And then what's Instagram do? Instagram changes the game, and they drop stories in there. And I was like super ahead of the curve because I had already been storying on Snapchat. So I understand some of the nuances and the ins and outs, and right, like, talk about like taste it, right? Like, hey, this is good. And, I comment to every single person that says something on, message, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff. Like, I talk to all of them. I message everybody. I DM tons of people. I like their work. Like, I'll just tell them, hey, I love your work, and I don't expect anything in return. I'm just trying to do that. And I just lay in bed at night, and then I've built it, and now I have some amazing relationships. I do. Everybody kind of knows in town. I do a Finer Touch Constructions. I'm their pool and landscape guy. Like, I get all their referrals. Like, we have a great relationship. Brad and I met on Instagram, right? Like, it was, back in 15, and it was small, and, we're just talking. I'm like, man, they're doing some quality work. And he's like, wow, those guys are doing some quality work. And we had a project that, we wanted to work on together, and we did, and it was just a fit, right? And then we've grown from there, and, AFT is a huge custom builder in town now.
Yep.
And those guys are just killing it. One of them, they're doing some great work, but really, him and I talk all the time, right? Having some other sources like, hey, is this working? Or you seeing this hashtag work? Or you seeing this work? Because it's just attention, right? We just want to get in front of people.
Consumer attention.
Yep.
So you said earlier you had like a crazy DM story, right?
Yeah. So this is awesome. Actually, we were talking about this earlier. So like, you just don't know who's paying attention. So like, there's a designer in town, and I really like her work. I think the world of her. And I messaged her, it was like, and I actually have to look at the exact dates, but I messaged her in like April last year. And just was like, I dig it. I just like her style. I was like, hey, I like your style. I dig how you do it. Keep up the good work. She doesn't respond to me. She doesn't say anything to me for 6 months. She doesn't say a word, right? But meanwhile, she's following me, and she's looking at all my stuff. And she sees what I'm doing. And I don't know this, right? Because you don't really, if somebody's following you, but they don't know if you're really seeing it or looking,
right? Yeah, because they don't like it. You don't,
right.
See
you don't really know. But meanwhile, like, I've never, I hadn't really talked to her, but she had watched so much of our work and so much of her stories. She all of a sudden, out of nowhere, messages me and says, hey, I love what you do, and I love how you represent yourself. And I have a client that we just did the house on, and she handed me a 6-figure job, just handed it to me, right? Because she had got to follow and see how I did, and it all started because I sent her a DM, right? Like, that's the game changer for guys like us that, we're not this huge company, and you got to care. It's funny. I've watched a bunch of the other builders in town. Like, they try to they come on and they say, hey, I probably should be on Instagram, and then they just slow down, right? They'll start off good for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it's like, wow, this is really work. Like, I really got to put time. You guys understand, right? You got to put time into it every single day, right? It's feeding the machine.
Yep.
Right?
And it's work, dude. It's real work, because you have to be consistent. You have to think outside of the box. You got to do all that different stuff. And it's, just off of what you said, like, I'm notorious for this because I've been doing this so long that I look at feed, I don't like anything. And it's not because I'm trying to be a jerk. It's because I'm seriously do not want to type one more thing or use my thumbs in that motion one more time. You know what I mean? So I just scroll, and some of the people that, dude, they're some of my favorite accounts. I don't like anything. I mean, when I do start liking things, it's because, like, I have to tell myself, like, dude, you got to give back. You can't just take. You got to give back. But it's kind of crazy. And I think that's what's cool. And you can see that through the stories, and you can see through the video views, which I like the video views because you could look at those videos and see the views. You don't have to necessarily like it. You can see that somebody liked it, but the thing that they're showing you is the views. So it's really cool that you get to see all that and there's not really any effort. So for stories, you press on it and you can see that, 200 people in Scottsdale saw your story, and you saw that, half of your following saw the story, and it's in numerical order. So it's actually being seen, unlike, the actual post that you do. But it's really cool to track that. And that's why I think things like Facebook Pixel and Google just rolled out a new version of that is super important, because now for businesses, you need to be able to track that stuff. Because me personally, I do not want to waste my time doing certain things if nobody gives a shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so do you think that that's really is that where a lot of your time and effort is right now, is on Instagram?
Instagram and Facebook, it's all there. That has my full attention. I mean, I'm putting stuff in other places because I don't want to leave anything alone, but consumer intention for my demographic that's where they are right now. It's changed the game for us, right? And I don't, I used to do mailers back in the day because those worked, right? I mean, I don't care where it is, right? I just want to be in front of the clients, but this isn't going anywhere, right? Think about it, guys. Like, the iPhone's only 10 years old, man. Like, this is the beginning still. Like, we're just at the front of this, right? And it's so awesome seeing. You talked about that with views. Like, it's funny. The pretty pictures that I love of like the finished product are my least liked stuff, right? It's the craziest thing we ever had. We had a shotcrete video. Shotcrete. Shotcrete. We got 250,000 views on it, right? Like, it went bananas. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, it's just shotcrete, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, right? Like, in my head.
It's the boring stuff.
To me, it's just like, it's fun. I actually love shotcrete, but that's not like the cool stuff to me, but that's what I'm able to do that I just don't think a lot of guys overall are doing. Is I'm really showing them the nuts and bolts of, hey, here's how we're shooting the pool, and here's where the steel is, and here's how I'm plumbing, and really giving them detailed behind the scenes looks. And it's just, the clients love it now. They love seeing it.
Because they don't get to see that anywhere else.
Yeah,
right?
That's not a common thing, because one thing we do know about the pool industry is everybody is extremely opinionated. So
come on, not our industry.
We've all gotten to that point where we're like, man, I want to video this, or I want to take a picture of this. And then you're like, no, because somebody in another state might not understand why this is happening, because this isn't really the traditional way of doing things. And I don't want to get beat up on it. But it's funny how that time you're willing to take that risk and just be like, you know what, this is the way we do things. I could care less. And you throw it up. Yeah, it's going to go crazy. You know what I mean? Because you don't get the traction on, the real nice looking stuff, because there's so much manipulating and editing, and everybody knows that, there's so much you can do with that. And there's a million other accounts that have these luxury looking pools and architectural pieces. And
a lot of the realtors are to blame for that, for sure.
Oh gosh.
You got the realtor adjusting those pool pictures.
And their auto comments.
Like, oh my word. Well, just the visual effect they put on the pools. I'm like, that is not realistic. Nobody's pool looks like that. And then they got their auto comments on everything now.
I hate these. Those are the things that's going to ruin Instagram, just like, other social platforms, is when you get into the auto bots, or the auto liking and the auto comments and all that stuff, where it's like, oh, this is great, we should connect. It's like, on this post?
Yeah.
Like, what did you get from this?
Yeah.
Like,
such a cool visual picture. And it's like,
this is a picture of me sick as shit.
Yeah.
Like, I have the flu.
Yeah.
You want to connect right now? Come over. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think
I do, for sure, man.
Yeah. So you think that's how you built your strong following, is by just kind of taking time every single day to liking things in the area, following people, engaging with comments, and engaging with direct messaging and all that stuff. And the cool thing is, you actually like what you do, and you're sincere about it. You're not just, it's not like you're just checking it off. Like, you enjoy what you do, similar to what we do, everything we do. If you've gotten a DM from us, like, we genuinely look at people's stuff, and we really like what everyone's doing. But that's how you've built your following.
Yeah. It's you said a genuine part, right? Just document. And it's funny to bring up the real estate thing, man. I got to DM guys all the time hijacking my stuff, and I'd love for them to repost it. You just got to tag me, right? Because that's how you guys understand how pictures work, right? But I'm just like,
you gotta repost it, tag it, man.
Right? Just tag me, right? But they have all, like, I pop, and not just here, like everywhere. I pop realtors. It's so funny. I pop realtors all the time, because if my picture gets reposted, it shows up in my, like, it'll generally show up like in my search. Like, if I'm not following them, I'll be like, oh, hey, here we go again, right? Send them another DM. But I genuinely like it. So are you guys, I see Mac here. Are you guys Mac guys?
We're a little bit of everything. So we like the Mac for editing. I have a MacBook Pro that I'll edit some stuff on. But as far as running the business, the day-to-day with brothers and stuff, it's PC.
So let me share with you something you can do on the MacBook. So there's an app. It's the best $10 I ever spent. It's called Grids for Instagram. And what it allows you to do is actually like have full service Instagram on your laptop. So then at night, right, and I'm done and I'm chilling, I can pop up with the laptop because I'm tired of texting all day. And I can actually because I can type real fast. I can go through and look at everybody's stuff and comment to who I want to comment. Because if I'm commenting, I actually genuinely like I genuinely like it. But it allows me to go a lot faster. So I've just gone through and, people want to see that if you genuinely care and you're sincere about it, like it'll come around. And like that designer example, and now her and I have a great relationship and she refers me all kinds of stuff. It's crazy, right? Just from one direct message. And then clients do the same. So we have clients right now that we were out. It was funny. I'm standing in line somewhere and the husband says, hey, he goes, are you Trevor? And I'm like, uh-oh. Right? And I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, do you own Artisan Elements? I said, yeah, it's my company. And it's funny, the wife smacks him. She goes, whack, and hits him. And she was like, see, I told you it was him. And then we start talking, and they're like, hey, we've been following you for like a year, and we're ready to build our pool now. We're just getting ready to reach out to you. So it's funny, we ran into you here. But right, like they've never liked a picture. They've never commented on a picture. And they followed us for over a year. But like it was like that was my first real like, wow, like somebody actually recognized me like from from Instagram, and just really understanding how many people are looking at it but aren't saying anything, and really having the discipline to every day go in and show people that you genuinely care, right? If there's somebody like before, think about how hard it was to get in front of people. Now I can, man. Like I can get in front of them, and they might not respond at first, but they, if they see you're emotionally invested and not coming from a bad place, you're gonna have some great relationships. I mean, I'm getting to work with designers I never, so like interior designers and stuff. I thought I'd never get to work with them. I think they're amazing and do just awesome jobs, and now I have great relationships with them.
Yeah, we have some of the best relationships we have with other pool companies around the country, like from Instagram. I mean, I have 3, 4, 5 numbers on my phone right now that I met from Instagram, and they're one of them's Will, the Bullfrog Pool Service. I talk to that guy a lot because he's in North Carolina, and it's nothing like what we do here, right?
It's crazy different.
It's so much different. He's got these big trees with the huge leaves, and it's different. We don't have any of that. We have dirt and dust that we deal with, right? And they deal with these huge. He's telling me that they average 50 minutes at a pool, and I'm like, what, man? We ours is like 15, 20. And it's like your whole business changes, the different dynamics, but all that is just knowledge. I know all that now based off of Instagram, right? And our relationship with you and through all these other builders, like through Instagram. I mean, it's cool that opens the doors to not only Arizona, like we were talking on Bobe's episode, like, they could sell their products, they're here in local Arizona, right? And you could go to California, Nevada, but it's opened like the whole entire world, right? You can sell to anybody, can see your stuff. Like we have people in Australia we talk to. We have other countries, Russia, different, like it's crazy. They would never know who we are, other outside of social media. And the relationships are the coolest part about it.
It's funny. I have a couple guys I've come real close with down in Australia that are building, and it's funny because their climate's so similar to Arizona. So we've had some cool conversations, and they're doing a lot of similar stuff, but they can do some stuff there we can't do, and vice versa. So it's just it's been neat, man, to just connect with guys that we just never would have talked to otherwise.
Yeah, we love this industry too, just like you. And if you love it, man, getting to get those those other underside stories of how they do things here and that, and all that's so cool. If you just like genuinely like it, and which we do, and you do, you love what you're doing, it's really, really cool to get those interactions and those conversations.
I really like the stories feature now, because I think a lot of companies struggle in this industry to really tell their brand's story, because they think they got to be a part of it, but the only way to do that is just taking a picture of every single pool or doing this. Like there's nothing that makes them different or separates them. And it's really cool that stories is now available to where you can actually, do some different things. I've seen some crazy stuff. I can't remember the account, but I think he owns a pool service and repair business where they do commercial pools, but He does everything. He went to go, one of his friends got a flat tire, and he was like doing the story was like, oh, I'm out here again fixing this flat tire for my friend, and went back to like, a hotel and, did some underground leaks and things like that. But just seeing that, I was like, that is so freaking cool. You know what I mean? And you have to understand when you see something, especially on social media, that you find very interesting and cool, like you should take a second to see how you can like implement that. Like when you're trying to figure out like, where's the attention at? What is this? What is that? I think you have to understand like, what are you doing? What's catching your attention? You know what I mean? And kind of play with that.
Yeah, for sure. That's, if it excites you, it's probably going to excite others. Right. So really understanding that and just document, just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm showing, and, one of the things I've started doing is like giving so it's funny, clients stalk me now. So they know like when I'm going to present the design the next day on the story, I'll give them a little sneak peek, right? I'll give them a little teaser, right? And then I'll go back and look and like they've rewatched the 15-second video like 45 times, right? Because they're like holding it and pausing it with their phone and like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that, right?
Screenshot it.
Yeah. But just, cool stuff to, kind of say, hey, and you can't really take that and go like, for me, like they can't take that. They're not taking that to somebody else. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But really, having those abilities to say, hey, look at things that we're designing and look at it this way and look at it this way and really giving them other opportunity. And like the other part of you brought up was also if I see somebody doing something I love, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Such a good idea. Like, why did I think of that? Oh, that's great. I'm going to start trying to implement that in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, none of us are 100% original. It all kind of derived from somewhere. So, take some of that. If you think something's interesting, maybe that will help your brand and create who you are moving forward. You know what I mean? Because I think you see something like, oh, I can't steal that. It's like, you're not stealing it. You're just kind of, manipulating a little bit and making it entertaining. We're all kind of doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So have fun with it. So Trevor, we're just talking about Instagram and all that good stuff. Was there, a favorite project that you have or anything like that you want to talk about? I'm sure we've seen some really cool stuff, on your guys' website and social media. Is there one in particular?
So there's two really. So one's the first pool I ever designed and built, right? That's just always going to have a special place in my heart. Her name was Gina Homme. She was from Canada. It was over in Litchfield Park. It wasn't anything huge. We did a really, really cool backyard for her. And we built it while she was gone. Like she was actually built in the summer while she was up in Canada, and had pool studio and did it all that way. And it turned out to be, I just got so much referral work from them. It was awesome.
But you didn't have the stories or anything to show her.
This
It was just like straight trusting you while she was in Canada.
Yeah, this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, just sending pics and, emailing stuff, emailing a picture over at a time. And, but that was it was the first like full like pool and landscape job I did together. We did a really cool outdoor kitchen for her and, did this cool elevated areas, just, neat little freeform pool and maximize the area. It was just, that one's always got a special place in my heart. Recently, there's some pictures I posted and it doesn't do it justice, but we're in Biltmore Estates and I had to cut a pool in half. And one of the foundation columns for the roof of the house was inside the pool, in a 0 access lot there. So I didn't have no gates into the backyard. To get in the backyard, I had to go through the house and I couldn't tear down the wall because it was a retaining wall holding up the dirt to the lot. So we literally had to like custom build ramps and stairs to get into the backyard and all the material into the yard because I couldn't get a crane in there because it sat on top, one of the top hills up there. And we had to figure out how to engineer taking half a pool out of a house while tying it back in and finishing it together because it was just an old pool had been built that way. It just killed the whole backyard. There was no room to entertain. Real funky shaped lot. And the older couple, they just wanted a smaller pool. And to really figure out how to like working with the engineers to really get them to understand, hey, I want to cut this here and how much steel do we have to leave out so we can tie it all back in together without, structurally damage the column because, it was just, there was so much technical access and then have to do it without having access to the lot. We literally hand carried every single piece of material in and out of that yard. it was just the intensity to get it right. And then when we're done, to be able to like just have the client super excited that it turned out like exactly how I'm showing up as design. The technical side for that one, while I've built crazier pools, it was for me the technical difficulty and the access difficulty of really having to do something that just is not normally, you just don't do every day.
How long did that take?
Like 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because when I think about it, hand access, right? I mean, I put 3,000 square feet of deck back in. I had to individually like carry up, right, all that stuff. So we're doing ramps, and we get it to the top and then hand it over the wall. And it was just a ton of work. Cutting the pool apart and really worked, like I said, really worked with our engineer even on site to say, hey, when we cut this with this column, bringing them out and get, making sure nothing's ever going to sink and move right, because we can't have the column that's holding up the roof of the house move. Like it can't ever adjust.
Right.
So that was really being able to engineer that right and then demo it right to make sure we saw cut everything correctly and, really took that out. And it was challenging, but they were so excited when they're done. It was just a ton of fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure you like the challenge as well. So
yeah, that was. I wish we would have had stories for that one. That would have been an awesome one to story.
Yeah, right.
We got pictures, but it just doesn't. It can't show like the technical difficulty of which we had to do to make that work. I just can't. Pictures can't do that justice.
No.
You can look at it and go, but imagine literally not having a gate to a backyard.
Yeah,
like to get to the backyard every day, we had to go through the house. Right. And we just completely, right, all new equipment. I had to replumb everything. I mean, I just essentially gutted this whole yard and started over.
Were they already living in the house?
Yeah. So they were there.
So
so they're there.
That would have been a cool, like, multi-camera, like, time lapse from 9 months. The cameras are just continuously running.
It would have been awesome to show.
Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah. That's a cool one. So, those are kind of, some, success stories. Do you have any, failures that you want to share?
Pure ion. So one of the things I won't do anymore is in Arizona, I'm not going to be first to market with a product that hasn't been tested in Arizona or Las Vegas. I've just had, all these guys have come out with stuff, and it might work great in San Diego, and it might work great in Florida, and it might work great in Texas. But our water's above 80 degrees for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. So, right, as you guys know how different water chemistry is here, Pure Ion came out with this system, and I mean, they touted us and really sold us on it. And we tested it on a pool, and it held up, like, did what it said it was going to do. And then we put like 4 or 5 in, had to rip every one of them out. Like, cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. But we went, and because they just quit working. And the company didn't want to stand behind it, and right, it was because it was really limiting the chlorine, and it just didn't work. Like, we couldn't keep the waters balanced. We were actually maintaining those pools ourselves. One of our service techs, we had him like doing pool service and maintain it so we can try to keep track. We literally had to go, so we had to eat the money. We had to go put new sanitation. I mean, it cost Dave and I a bunch of money, but we did it, right? And that's one, hey, from then on out, we just decided, hey, we're going to really make sure stuff's tested here. So, like, I waited quite a while for UV and ozone to get to where it is now. UV and ozone's working really, really good now. But, 3 or 4 years ago, it just wasn't producing what it can produce now. So, I really want to see the system work and make sure it's flowing and functioning and really going from there.
Yeah. Do you have a pool?
I do.
At your house? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you test a lot of stuff on your pool?
Not a ton. I do, but I don't. So this house we bought had a pool, and I've actually stayed in it a little longer than we thought. I'm going to have that set up the next one. In the next couple of years, we'll probably get a new house because I want to build. Like, I want to build my backyard now.
Heck yeah.
Right. But this one is. It's one of those the mechanic never works on his own car.
Yeah.
Right. My pool is fine. It works. It functions. But I didn't build it. And, I've done a bunch of repairs to it and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll come test stuff out and say, hey, let's try this pump or let's look at this automation and, work with some of those guys and get it flowing.
You have a pool guy?
No, I do the pool stuff myself.
Oh, you're the pool guy.
I am the pool guy. So, I mean, it's got
kind of therapeutic for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's got info. It's not hard to check chemicals and,
yeah,
and do all that stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty.
You don't have the wrong trees around it.
No, I know. My neighbor does, but I don't. So, I mean, but I don't mind, like, especially in the summer, right? I'm so hot at the end of the day, right? Like, I love just getting home and jumping in the pool, and I'll walk around with the little skimmer basket and clean it myself. Like it's no big deal. I don't mind. So, but yeah, I mean, it works. We actually host all the time. I got some cool stuff in it, but it's not like I didn't build it. So like the next pools, I'm excited to like build something, and I want to find something with I don't need, I don't need a giant house. I want some property so I can do something neat with something neat with the pool.
So you were mentioning to us earlier that you're kind of making some changes. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So technology is always changing in our industry, and things are going certain directions, and I've really I've been married to Pentair since the beginning. I've always done their pumps. I've always done their electronics. I've just done and I've used other because of doing this all the service we used to do with Brandenburg. I've messed with everybody else's stuff, and we've talked a little bit about it off air, and I joke, if I can marry all three of them, I would, right? If I could take the big three and be like, hey, I want this review and this review and this review, right? I would, right? That's perfect world, but that's never going to happen. But, I'm really excited about the direction Zodiac's going as a company, and what they're doing with their products. The Aqualink was the first automation out. Their automation is just light years ahead of everybody else's, in my opinion. I know Pentair's getting ready to come out with some new stuff, but so is Aqualink. And they I do a lot of work where they have to tie into home automation. So I'm trying to tie into a Control4 or a Crestron or, that kind of stuff. And so we're really trying to, do those kind of things. And for me, it's about service and support. I think, everybody has their issues, but I think with the variable speed pumps now, right, everybody has access to their stuff. So we want to, say, hey, this is why we're working with the companies we're working with. So we as a company are actually in the process of moving all our equipment over to Jandy. And we're going to be using all their automation and all their pumps and filters. They're one of the things they do, and one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the things I love that they're doing as a company is they have their Trade Series Select, which means unless a pool professional installs that product, you don't get a warranty from it. They're trying to protect our industry. And that's really, really huge to me. I love that. I hate that, I have to deal with clients sometimes that'll be like, hey, I can go on Amazon and buy this, but I won't install it, right, with other equipment. So that's, for us, right, I want to partner with guys that really care about our industry. And I've been testing stuff. And Jandy, with their variable speed and their heater and their cartridge filter, if you're running their VersaPlum system, one of the big things they have is it has a 3-inch intake on it. So I prefer to run 3-inch line if I can. So with that pump, I can actually run 3-inch line, because the more water I can move through the pool, the more energy efficient it is, the lower the RPM I can run. So we're able to run 3-inch line. So I'm really excited about the move we're making, over to them. And, their technology is just really far ahead. Their lights, they have the nicheless lights out first, and being able to have those, right, allows us with LED technology to do way more lights in a pool than I can do right now. So I'm really excited. It's something that I just didn't wake up one day. I'm like, I'm gonna make a switch. Right. It's been a long, calculated, educated process. Really looking at what we're doing and where we want to go, and and then the support we're getting, from Jandy and Zodiac as a company. The service side of it is really, really well. And then, we use Paramount's in-floor cleaning system, which we love. We love Buzz and Nick and those guys, and they just make a great product. Their system works so good. So, we think those two things together is going to allow us to service our clients better. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what I want to be able to do is, service our client.
Nice. And do these, you have stuff, I know you have a storefront here in Scottsdale. Yep. Do you have a place where customers can come in and actually look at some of this equipment, the tiles, the different things like that? So
yeah, I think we have a pretty unique showroom. Ours is built unlike any other pool guy showroom in town. Cause I've been in a lot of guys and I've just seen everybody does a slat wall and throws all the tile up, and I wanted to do something different. So it's actually not too far from you guys here. If people know where Costco is in the Scottsdale Air Park, right off of Hayden and 83rd Place. We're right there. We're right on that corner. Our building's in there. We have a showroom. That's where all our clients come in, and we have all the interiors, all the tiles, all the decks, because we do so much landscaping, turf samples. I have equipment set up. It's running. So I can, it's all hooked into, Alexa. So I can tell them, hey, show them how Alexa works and, hey, talk to it and tell it to turn it on and, have access to the automation. So then I'm out, I can say like, hey, here's how the automation works. Here's how we're going to set it up. Right. And I can show them like, here's how we turn it on and really give them real world examples of why we're doing it, how we're doing it. I got a ton of stuff from Beauvais in there, so I can show them different scuppers and color samples, of all that. So we have, then our offices are upstairs. We have a really unique, I think, showroom for our industry, and we like the location.
Oh man, we're really looking forward to checking that out. Is there somebody there all the time?
Yeah, so people are always at the offices upstairs. I mean, we're really open, like 7 to 4 is when the office is open. You'll never know. Sometimes you might catch me in there at 5 a.m. or 8 o'clock at night, right?
Right.
But if clients want to come by, it's open from 7 to 4, and somebody might not always be in the showroom part. We might be, because of how the office set up, they might be upstairs, but we have, access to that.
Nice. Yeah. Back to the Jandy thing, real quick. We went to the symposium, as I'm sure you heard the episode or the reflection we did on it. That's the most impressive part for us. And, the same thing with you. We've been pretty much married to Pentair, just because, and we've talked about it before, like the IntelliFlow, man, is almost untouchable. And it's just such a good product and a good pump. And it's something you can stand behind. Yep. You know what I mean? That's where it's kept us. But I definitely understand where you're coming from as far as where Jandy's moving and where Zodiac is moving, because what that symposium opened up to our eyes was, they're willing to change with the industry. You know what I mean? They're moving in that direction. They see the companies, the service companies, the builders, they see the importance of them, as I don't think some of their companies do as much.
Totally agree.
They put on, they put up, what I appreciate about Pentair the most, and we've talked about before, is they take time to put their products out. Yep. And that's what makes their products, superior in my opinion. But the customer service side, I think Zodiac definitely is nailing that, and they're pushing. They don't push themselves on us. They talk to us and let us know, hey, we're here if you want to try these things. We definitely use the JXI. That's the heater we use all the time. Right. Mostly because it's rat proof, and Arizona's. That's
everything here. Yeah, it's one of the things I love about it. Right. It's such a huge innovation in that.
Yeah, but we're all about taking care of the clients, and we generally want to put the best things we can in their backyards. Just like you're talking about giving them the best experience. But Jandy's made a big move and a big push, and if they keep going in the way they're going, if you're a progressive company as we are, I think that that they're moving in that direction where they're going to provide you with the stuff that no other company can. And that's pretty cool that they're opening that whole side up.
Yeah, they're just doing so much as a company that I'm really excited about them. And I like the products, right? Pentair, the variable speed with them, for me, it's a Toyota Camry, right? And it's a Honda Accord. Mm-hmm. It works great. I'm going to get a couple 100,000 miles. I know what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. For me, just some of the stuff Jandy's doing as whole as a company, they're really, their variable speed pumps have really come around. But like I said, the JXI heaters, their lights, their automation, the Aqualink is just, it works so, they, in my opinion, just by far have the best automation.
Yeah, I know I'm super excited for that next wave, because I've told Nick 100 times, like if you get rid of that web-based portal,
right?
Like I'll probably be all in, because I can't stand programming through the web-based portal, and I think that new changes in next year, is taking that away, and I think that's really going to change their whole game, because I think that's one of the most things that people don't like. It looks so old, like we're stuck in 1990s, on the website. So if they change that, they're going to change the game.
And that's what I believe is coming with the new one. So, but they saying they don't want to put it to market until like it's ready, right? But when dealing with so much home automation as I do, they on the back end, Aqualink it automatically talks to Crestron and Control 4. They have that set up. Like that's a big deal for me.
They're the only one.
Yep, they're the only one. Yep. So that side of it, and then with the VersaPlumb, the way they're plumbing it. With the sweeps and what they're doing there, the water flow through that's really, really good, right? Go back to the JXI, right? Being able to put that bypass on there. And they're just, I care about how much money I can save my client, right? By running it more efficiently, right? You guys see every day, these old pumps that are costing $8, $9, $10 a day to run in, right? We can get them at a variable speed and it's costing them $1.40, right? Like, I mean, that's a lot of money to a homeowner at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, all this, all this different stuff going on. Is there anything you do to kind of just, stay sane? You work out? Do you do yoga? Do you run?
Yes. So I do. I have to. Like, I'd lose my mind if I didn't. So I've been doing yoga lately, which I really, really dig. I love working out. Play flag football. We just lost our championship game, which was terrible.
Oh, that sucks.
It was bad. Yeah, I actually stress fractured my foot. So like I'm sitting here right now, like I can't really, as long as I'm sitting, I'm okay. But when I'm walking right now, it's hurting. But yeah, that was literally last week. Play with a bunch of builder guys in town. We all have a team, and I'm just so competitive. But yeah, and then really, so I'm an extremist. Like, I'm weird, and I love work. I actually love working. I love the in and out, the day to day. Like, I dig actually working. I love it. But when I'm work, I'm all in. But then when I'm off, when I finally take time off, I'm out. Like, I check out. Like, I don't have the ability to like go 3/4 of the way. Like, I'm just either all in or all out. So that really helps. My wife and I like doing CrossFit together. So, I got to go relieve the stress, and move some weight and, generally feel a lot, you just feel so much better. And, I just, 41 now, it's funny. I was joking, like, my body just doesn't react the same as it did at 31, right? Like, so I want to make sure I'm taking care of it. I'm healthy, and, I'm pretty clean about how I eat. And, so yeah, but that's, you got to kind of do that stuff to separate. And then family time for me is everything. Like, got to have that family time. And, my wife, my wife's Polynesian. She comes, Samoan and Tongan. She comes from, I thought I had a big family until I met them. I have like 22 first cousins on my mom's side. Most of us are real close. And like, my wife has 80 on just one side. Like, we all know each other. Yeah. So we just do a lot of stuff together. And so like, we're the host house. Like, we'll just always have people over. There's always kids over screaming, swimming, like, let's go to Uncle Trevor and Aunt Mel's. And we're also like the wayward home for college students. So like, feels like we always have somebody in there now. Like, we got another niece with us right now, and it was good. We're glad we can help, because, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have people helping me coming up.
Sure. Yeah. Do you live here in Scottsdale?
No, I live in Peoria.
In Peoria? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, I've just been a West Sider kind of the whole time, and family and friends are kind of out there now. So I'm like, yeah, I'm staying over there.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So leads us to our next question. Is there any books or podcasts or anything like that you listen to on the way in the morning or anything?
Yeah. So, we talked a little earlier, right? I'm a big GaryVee guy, and it's really I want to see what he's doing. Like, I'm stalking to watch what they're actually doing. Podcast wise, books wise, I try to think of, like, I got to go like one older, one newer. There's some great books that have really helped me over the years. Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly, Successful People. It's a great book. I reread it every couple of years. Just the principles behind it are really, really good. They've always been really, really solid. So that's a great, old school book. And then, old school, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yep.
That's, if you've never read it, it's a great one. I see you guys got raving fans in here. That's a great book. I love that one. Newer ones, From Good to Great, was really, really good by Jim Collins. I really enjoyed that. I've been doing a lot of audiobooks lately. There's actually a cool app. It's called Scribd. So you can subscribe to it, just like a Netflix or that type of thing. But we're like actual audiobooks, right? You have to buy every book. This is a streaming service, and they don't have everything, but there's a lot of books I've been able to like stream and listen to, right? So I'm in the car, so I do a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah,
because
like
I'm just
Spotify.
Yeah, I'm essentially it's been really cool. I've been really happy with it, right? Because I'm just, like we talked about, right? I'm in the car so much every day. But those are a few I would definitely recommend if you've never read them. All of those will make you think about things and be a better person.
Nice. Is there any other podcasts? Is there some different podcasts besides Pool Chasers?
Yeah. So, of course. So podcasts I actually like outside of the industry. I love Joe Rogan. I think he's funny. I think he's a pretty thoughtful, insightful guy when he asks certain things. So I like his podcast. I really, recently have been listening to a bunch of different ones. So who would I say has really stood out to me lately that I've been like, wow, like I really enjoy that. I really like Bill Simmons' podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a sports guy, so I'd have to say Bill Simmons is up there pretty high. If you guys get a chance, I actually just watched. He did that documentary on Andre the Giant.
I watched it.
Oh, it was awesome, man. And being the wrestling kid that I am, like I was so when they did the third WrestleMania when Hulk slammed Andre, it was in Michigan at the Silverdome, but they broadcast it in L.A., Chicago, New York, and I think Atlanta. Like, so we were at the arena, like watching it on like the jumbotron when it happened, and I was just such a wrestler. Like I went nuts when Hulk slammed, right? So then dropped the leg and
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I had an experience when I was younger. I was probably like 2 or 3, but me and my dad were on an airplane. We sat next to Andre the Giant, and he actually held me out of the airport. He asked my dad, he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I hold your son?" to kind of block him, even though he's like one of the biggest dudes in the world. You know what I mean? He's like the tallest dude. But yeah, that dude like carried me out of an airport, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Did you not take a picture?" He's like, "Well, shit, we didn't have cell phones that cameras on." Like I would have had to pull out film and you know what I mean, do the whole thing. But yeah, I actually grew up with a lot of wrestling too. It was a lot of fun. And then I'm not really going to share how I exited out of that era. It's pretty embarrassing.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to listen to another Pole Chasers podcast to get it out of you.
Yeah, for sure. But that's awesome. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff to learn from different podcasts and books, and just kind of a little trick that I've learned lately when I'm reading stuff or articles or different things like that. I actually, since Apple Podcasts is getting a lot bigger and their kind of more internal search engine is getting better, you can actually like type in just somebody's name. So if I typed in, Trevor Tipton on there, you'll be on, Pool Chasers in the future and, Protractor and whatever else is on. So I'll like just hear people. I'm like, this guy is really cool. Like I'm going to just look up his name, and then, they'll fall under these other podcasts. So, I'll listen to Rogan and, the Minimalist podcast and No Jumper and all these different ones. But it's cool because you get, oh yeah, I'm super into hip hop. Oh, you rock. Yeah. You like No Jumper?
Oh yeah.
Oh dude. I listen to that like every day.
Yeah. You got to remember, man, I grew up in LA when NWA came up. Like I'm from LA. I lived through that. Like I actually was watching like CDs getting burned, and I had an older sister that was into all that stuff. So I mean, it was just like I'm a huge hip hop kid. Like that's like I grew up with it.
Yeah, I was in that area around like Rodney King riots were going on.
I was there for that.
Yeah, I stayed in Bellflower, so I got to have fun with all that craziness. But if you make it out, it's kind of it's a story for sure.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, we were in Culver City. I mean, they had the National Guard was at the park across the street from our house. Like it was serious. Like they were starting to come in. Like when they got the guy stopped was into Culver City. So like they had been coming working their way down, and Culver City has a back end, and they were coming in that way. That was an intense couple of days.
Yeah, that is crazy. I haven't heard of anybody. I mean, obviously a ton of people listen to No Jumper, but that's cool. A lot of cool people he has on there.
Yeah, I like that podcast quite a bit.
Nice. Well, wrap things up here. Thank you so much, Trevor, for being here. We're going to let you give a little plug on, Artisan Elements, where people can find you, your social media platforms that you're on and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So websites, artisanelements.net. And, you can find us on Instagram at Artisan Elements, Facebook at Artisan Elements, everything, LinkedIn, Pinterest, House, we're all there under Artisan Elements. I'm an open book, man. Reach out to me, DM me, Facebook, message me, smoke signal, whatever it is, man. If you guys have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, and I'm always willing to talk to someone. And I want to learn, man. If you say, hey, man, have you looked at trying to do it this way, man? Let's talk. Or, and say like some of the service guys, you guys were talking about earlier. Like I love talking to those guys because the water chemistry is so different. So I like learning different things. So I love for people to reach out to me. And man, I just want to say thank you guys so much. And to everybody listening, man, thank you for giving us your attention. Like your most valuable thing is your time. And like I feel so undeserving of like people. Like it blows me away that people actually want to like listen to me and check me out. And like it's a really humbling experience. Like it's really, really cool. And I'm so thankful for it. And I love what you guys are doing for our industry. And I can't wait to see you guys got next.
Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Greg and I truly appreciate your time, and we do not take it lightly. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you guys got some great content out of this. And as always, please take what you can, apply it to your business, and utilize it. We just want to make each other better. So Thank you so much. I just want to kind of read another review here from Kane from Premier Pool Care. We've known Kane for a while now, and he's been a good friend. So thank you so much, Kane, for going on podcast and leaving this review. He said, glad to see some new things being brought to the pool industry. Really appreciate Greg and Tyler doing this for the community. And I want to focus right there on the word community, because that is what it is to Greg and I. You know, we take the time to do this and put this on, but we, are truly humbled by the response. And we thank you guys so much for just being there and joining us in this fight to make this better. We want to raise the standards. We want to be able to, be proud of what we do, and we are, and we hope you guys are as well, and you take pride in that. And let's join together as a community and make this industry better. So once again, thank you for your time. If you could, please subscribe to the podcast. That's how you get the new updates. And if you feel like you get value from this podcast, please rate it and review it. We would truly appreciate it. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at poolchasers.info@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our tag is Pool Chasers. Thank you again for listening.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.